6 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans completed their in-person interview yesterday with Buccaneers Assistant General Manager John Spytek and Packers Vice President and Player Personnel John Eric Sullivan for the team's general manager position. Those were the final two interviews of the second interviews that the Titans had scheduled. So we could have a new general manager by this weekend. An injury report going into divisional weekend. The Texans running back Joe Mixon and linebacker Azeez Al-Shire are listed questionable for Saturday's matchup at Kansas City. For the Chiefs, quarterback Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, DJ Humphries are all off the injury report and good to go. Wide receiver Mecole Hardman, who remains on injured reserve, is doubtful. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once. You're home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Six o'clock as a brand new morning begins on 104.5 The Zone. This is RKW. On a football Friday, Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bolding, Robert Walsh makes the show happen. I'll be honest, we don't have a lot of football Fridays left. Got to enjoy it. There's a finite amount of football that you get in your year. And for a little while, this is almost it. NFL Divisional Round Preview. We got that for you coming up to lead off the show in 20 minutes. Of course, Fridays mean we visit with VolQuest's Brent Hubbs. Ron Slay at 9:20 as well as the Titans wrap up round 2 of GM interviews, and there appears to be a clear frontrunner. 615-737-1045, streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV. It is Friday, January the 17th. Good morning. How are we doing?
Good morning. We're doing well.
Pretty solid, man. Friday seems like the longest week ever.
It really
Kayla
does.
Was speaking about that before you came in here, Will. But I will tell you this, you're 100% correct. I thought about that yesterday, man. It's like, man, there's no Thursday night football on
Starts
right
to
now.
hit you.
It
that
did.
This is it.
It
Yep.
did. Last night I was watching Lady Vols, and I was just like, well, we usually watch, Thursday night football at this point. There's no bowl games. There's no any of that. So, we're getting close to the end. I'm not sad. I'm just happy I saw it. That's where I'm at.
Exactly.
You are sad.
I know. I just like Football Friday. I actually had to sit for a second and think, wait, do we have football? Oh, yes, of course we have football.
Oh,
We've
yes.
got playoffs. We have one more game in the college football scenery. So, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that game on Monday. But just in all, too, I like this time of the year. Being involved in it, like going deeper into the playoffs, which has been a very long time since Pittsburgh's done that type of thing. I'm not sad. I'm just, reflecting a little bit. But with that being said, the concentration detail.
I'm not sad. I'm just reflecting a little bit. Sounds like you're deflecting a little bit. Your sadness. You're in denial.
It's just a little bit, man. But it's super cool being a part of like playoff football when it really does mean just a little bit more. When you can tell guys that's been around like big time football in the playoffs, like they understand and they talk to the young guys about it. So I can only imagine like a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, like him being with Kansas City. I mean, to go from the Tennessee Titans to like having a first round bye with the Kansas City Chiefs, I know that's not something that he maybe he did plan on that happening.
He could have. Yeah. There could have been a little wheeling and dealing in
There could
there.
have been a little bit of, hey, I'm a little upset about where I am right now. But it is it's super, super cool and it's special, too, for the teams that's made it this far.
And then you got Derek over in Baltimore. It's kind of, like you said, bittersweet a little bit for Titans fans, too, just to see some of their guys.
No doubt.
Go Buffalo. So I think there we go. I knew that was coming. I think this is the best weekend of the NFL season. Wild card weekend, you get some stinkers as they have expanded the playoff a little bit. And obviously, conference championship, Super Bowl are great, but there's not that many games. Like you get a couple games and that's kind of it. Divisional round weekend is the best collection of football that we get at a singular weekend at the professional ranks. Can't change my mind.
Yeah, only questionable one I have in the divisional round right now to me is only one team. It's the Rams. They continue to make it happen. They absolutely, they are that good right now, I guess. The Vikings absolutely had no idea they were going to get pantsed the way they did. But I still question, are the Rams that good? But I'll tell you this, Matthew Stafford continues to just show why they traded for him. Understand now, like why you want a veteran quarterback. That little flip to the I thought that was an illegal pass. Well, I thought that was a fumble in that Vikings Rams game, simply because you can't just flick a ball and throw it. Well, I guess if Tom Brady could get away with it, you can too. So shout out to Matthew Stafford for showing everybody, look, just have somebody in the area, and it's an incomplete pass. That I was furious about that one. I won't front. That was one of the one times I was just like,
there you go.
Let football just do its thing. And no, rule changes, I guess. It was a throwing motion. Screen? Somebody in the vicinity? Were y'all upset about that?
I wasn't watching the game.
You wasn't?
I was with you.
I was
on
not
that.
watching it live. I was preoccupied.
Disturbed by that one. I'll be honest with you. It's just like, how do the quarterbacks continually get away with these types of things? Like, I see why defenses are upset. Like, I was sympathizing with defensive players at that point in time. But that's why Matthew Stafford is who he is.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very good surprise last night. If you are a fan of television, if you're a fan of a show that has been off for 3 years, Severance Season 2 dropped a day early yesterday for the good people at Apple TV, and it is living up to the hype. It got a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
Would you guys rather a show come out all at once or once a week? Because this one's coming out every Friday, and I don't like going back to the old-fashioned way of watching a show again. I literally would have watched probably half of it last night. So maybe for this show today, it's better that I didn't, because I'm also moving this weekend. But I'm not patient enough to wait for this to come out.
I'm with you on that, but it is better for me as a whole, especially during the busy time of the year when you're trying to balance all that stuff. And if a show comes out at one time, I will probably binge it. And there will probably be a night that I'm up till 2 a.m. So that happened with another Apple show, Will, because that's how they do it. They put it out every Friday or whatever. Yeah. And I felt myself getting anxious during the week and checking Apple every day, even though I knew it was coming out on Friday. I'm like, well, maybe it popped up a little bit early, So you can tell I don't have the patience, but it was probably better for me to stretch those out.
I'm an all-at-once type of person. Mm-hmm. And even so much so, like, for the shows I do watch, like, I watch Abbott Elementary.
Yeah.
And I will not watch for, like, 2-3 weeks so I can binge on it. Like, that's where I am. Like, I'll get busy and say, hey, no, absolutely not. Fair. I'm an all-at-once guy, but I do appreciate the once a week. I'm just not patient for it. Like, when I'm watching something, like, I can't wait to dive into Landman. Like, I got to catch a flight this evening, and I'm just like, show after show after show after show after show. I am legitimately going to watch it. So you are
watching that, or you haven't started it? Okay.
I started the first, 10 minutes of the show.
Yeah. Travis has watched that, so
he's already watched it?
Some of them.
Is it good?
It's supposed to be
the
phenomenal.
ones I've chimed in on are good.
Phenomenal. My brother-in-law was just like, he couldn't stop watching it. It was that good. I think it's 7-8 episodes in the first season. Mm-hmm. Billy Bob Thornton's in it.
He's
it's
real
the
good.
one that we talked about with Jerry Jones.
Yeah, Demi Moore's in it.
I don't know who Debbie Moore, but I guess she's significant.
I'm not surprised it's
Debbie.
You said Debbie Moore.
I said
Demi Moore. Demi Moore. Bruce Willis's old wife.
Ex-wife.
Beautiful 50s
absolutely.
plus.
I don't know anything about Debbie, but I guess she's important.
That is, you mean Little Debbie? Little Debbie, the one on the
Nick Saban's all of a sudden.
I'm telling you,
oatmeal, whatever cookies.
Demi Moore. Well, look, I'm looking forward to it even more now. Then
Taylor Sheridan shows kind of lost me with how bad Yellowstone got down the stretch. I've not watched a second of that last season because it just got so stupid.
It did get bad
when Kevin Costner was like, "Hey, I don't want to do this anymore."
Yeah.
His shows are fine if you like them. They're so far fetched.
Oh, this is the same director or something?
Yeah, it's a Taylor Sheridan show.
But I think Yellowstone, just like you said, Will, I think when Kevin Costner and that whole kind of battle behind scenes happened, it lost its luster. But this is like fresh out of the pot, so maybe they can keep this going for a minute, that it doesn't lose that. But right now, it's good.
But yeah, I'm looking forward. I somewhat started Yellowstone. I got to some of the controversy, I guess, when the daughter came back in town or something like that.
It's not worth it.
The whole show?
They didn't stick the landing.
They didn't stick the landing?
No.
Like, even if I'm watching it from the beginning.
It gets bad.
It gets bad?
Yeah.
Worse as it goes?
Kind of like Dexter. Dexter started to trail off the last two.
I thought Dexter was like goated.
It is goated. But then it's like you should have just ended it probably 2 seasons ago.
What about House of Cards?
Also didn't stick the landing.
Didn't stick.
Terrible ending. Well, that's also because Kevin Spacey's off-camera issues
He's got some issues.
that forced him to just magically disappear from the show at the very end.
Yeah, and you can tell. All right. Well,
he's not there
He
for the
just
whole last
doesn't
season.
show up
so
to act.
he just
I'm not speaking on that one because I read up on
he just
it
goes
a
in the
while
ground
back.
from the next to last season.
Okay. Well, did you guys think Game of Thrones landed it?
Yeah, I thought it was
I thought
fine. I mean,
Game
it
of
wasn't
Thrones
as
was
good
good.
the last 2 seasons, but I mean, it was okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
When I rewatched it, it made more sense.
You still haven't seen it?
What Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
I've seen Game of Thrones.
okay,
I even
okay.
watched I hadn't seen the new dragon stuff and everything
Yeah.
else like that,
That's
but I
fine.
have. Yeah.
The new one tried way too hard to capture what the old one was, and you just can't do
It
that.
happened too quickly.
House of Dragons, okay.
House of Dragons? Yeah. What about the prequel to like Yellowstone and what that's got going on?
I never watched it.
Oh,
You haven't-
1970 or whatever?
18.
It's one of those
18
years. I don't know.
I know, right?
1970? What
Yeah, I
am
was
I
about to
talking
say
about?
something.
It's like 18 something.
Yeah, it's
18.
19. I genuinely have no idea.
1970.
Well, but now
Any other shows you
Taylor
would like
Sheridan
to
show. Yeah,
inquiry
seriously. What you got? Rapid fire. Hit me. Let's go.
we
Come on.
mentioned you said Dexter already too.
The Night Agent season 2 comes out next week. They got that one for you. That one's pretty good. Let's hit them all.
If you guys aren't watching Traders, you need to watch Traders.
So we are watching that.
Oh.
Traders is a lot of fun.
Trader
Episode
Joe's?
4 came out yesterday.
I am
Nope,
all the
different
way
kind of
in.
trader.
All the way in.
It's very cheesy, but it's the best reality television I've watched in a hot minute.
Easily the best. And I was talking to Cheyenne about this because I usually poke holes in whatever she watches.
Yep.
The Bachelorette, Deal or No Deal Island,
Jeez.
whatever she watches. But this is so good, I don't care if it's scripted. I
know, I
don't
don't
care
either.
if it's
Okay.
fake.
Yeah.
I don't care if people are in their ears. It is so good.
Trader.
Trader.
So
Okay.
it is a celebrity reality show where they're all in a castle in Scotland, and it's basically like, y'all ever play Mafia?
No.
You didn't. That's
It's kinda like Clue.
It's a generational
A little
thing.
bit
we
like
played
Clue.
Mafia. Yeah,
Okay.
it's like Clue, but with real people. So there's 3 people that can like murder someone overnight.
Traders.
The traders, yeah, and they have to have like council meetings and figure out who the traders are and who like the real people are.
and the real
Okay.
people are trying to find them out the whole time this is going on. So
And
if-
whoever
Okay.
wins gets the money at the end.
So
Like,
the traders
whoever's last.
kill someone every night. The faithful
Yeah.
vote someone out every night. So you're trying to constantly grab someone and figure out like, oh, dude, who do you think this is?
And if you watch other reality TV, it's like people from Survivor, Big Brother,
Oh.
The Bachelor, Selling Sunset. There's a person on there.
Oh,
which-
I watched that
that's,
show.
Oh, never mind. I'll rescind the comment I was about to make about that
Oh,
show.
I don't care.
oh, it is crappy. Cheyenne watches
It's one
it
of the
too.
worst
I love that
shows
show.
of all time.
I just look at all the houses and
yeah.
dream that I could be in one of those houses, and know I'm never
gotta
going
start
to
playing
be.
a lot.
But it's like people from all those places. Sam Phelan maybe could be on a future season then. Our friend from A to Z Sports.
I think he has to, if he wants to do more Survivor, he has to do more Survivor. If you stop doing a CBS product and then
Yeah.
go do a
Yep.
non-CBS product, you can't go back
can't
to
go back,
Survivor.
right.
So
What is this?
I think Peacock,
Oh,
correct.
Peacock. Okay.
The Traitors. As they
This-
say.
The guy who's the host is incredible.
this trader.
He's something.
This trader show sounds like it has a lot of anxiety if you are a
So
contestant.
much.
Oh, it's great.
I
So
think
what I'm saying,
it's
like-
Gabby
good.
from The Bachelorette.
Oh, my
that was
gosh.
the appeal for
Really?
my fiance.
That seems like it would just run you crazy.
Hey,
doing
hop
that
in,
show.
man. Watch the 4 episodes. Comes
I
out on
might go
Thursday.
watch
We
it.
can
Yeah, it
talk
does.
about it next week.
It comes out on Thursday nights.
It sounds like
I'll go
Squid
watch
Games
it.
or something. Like, is it like related to like that movie Squid
No.
Game? It's not like that.
There's a
It's
new
not even
reality,
close.
it's reality television.
Squid Game actually good.
By the way, that
Yes.
Never
season
watched
2
it.
came out.
Squid 2, whatever it is.
Squid 2.
Anyways, that's all the shows you could possibly
No, I got
ever
one more.
watch
I
on
got
every
one.
streaming. Oh my God.
What is it?
Suits LA.
Oh, that just came
That
out.
one's coming out too.
Not done
So I
Suits.
can't. I love Suits.
I didn't like it in the first couple
Did you
minutes.
just poop your pants?
That was burnt back there. No,
Poop your pants?
I would never done
Coming
that.
up,
okay?
that's all the things you could be
Never done
watching that's
that.
not football. What about the football itself? NFL Divisional Round Preview. One big thing on every game next.
It's Ramon Foster for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Y'all, Hiller's been in business since 1990, and they are family owned and operated, man. Jimmy Hiller, man, also was recently named amongst the most admired CEOs because of how he truly cares for his team and his clients, man. So much so that Hiller takes care of every customer on every job every single time. They stand behind their work. Their motto is, happy you'll be, or the service is free. If a customer isn't pleased with the work performed, they will make it right, all right? They will send one of their professional, experienced, trustworthy technicians into your home and leave it clean and better than they found it. Trust me, when they walk in, they're putting those shoe covers on so they don't attract dust into your home. You ask me how I know, it's because I also use Hiller. If you want to be like me, man, and get some true transparency pricing, reach out to the folks that I trust at happyhiller.com.
NFL Divisional Round weekend, and it is the best weekend of the year of the NFL. Coming up starting tomorrow, we've got one big thing on every game. If you're on RKW, Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, 615-737-1045. Ron Slay going to move up to 820 this morning if you are looking for a weekly visit from our 3HL and SEC network superstar. So he'll be with us an hour earlier today. Let's start from the beginning. Very good place to start. Texans at Chiefs. If it is a playoff weekend of the NFL, you can bet the Texans are leading it off. So I'll ask one big thing, guys, from each of these games. A question, a prediction, a worry. What's your one big thing for Texans at Chiefs?
Texans at Chiefs. I wrote a little bit of nugget. I wrote a nugget for each one of them. But my first one is this. Can the Texans find another playmaker besides Nico Collins? Considering how good that Kansas City defense is, you played at home last time. You absolutely worked the Chargers at home. Looking at the way that game played out, C.J. Stroud used his legs a little bit, like they got out of some ruts. But also Nico Collins had a day himself, like he played lights out for them. Considering you have no Tank Dell, considering you have no Stephon Diggs, and also the Chiefs' run defense is solid. They can stop Joe Mixon, and it's cold, and it's like all those elements. So who can they find besides Nico Collins is the biggest question I have for the Texans going into it. So
against L.A., when C.J. Stroud targeted Nico Collins, he had a perfect passer rating. When he targeted everyone else, he had a 62.1 passer rating, according to Next Gen Stats.
And here's the thing behind that. You know the Chiefs have sat and watched that tape 50 million times leading into it. They probably already know their tendencies and all those types of things. Like the playoffs, man, is a super unique spot to be in because all the great ideas seem to come to the forefront. And it seems to me to be one of those games, the way I've seen it played out, where you double the stars. Nico Collins, you get nothing. We'll play the grimy run game, which if you want to hand the ball off to Joe Mixon, or if you want a chance running the ball around with your quarterback and C.J. Stroud. I don't think you get the home field cooking of him being able to use his legs the second time around. They didn't kill it. I said he only had 42 yards rushing last game, but it was significant when he broke out, though. I think he had the 27-yarder, yes.
What's interesting, too, about the Houston Texans, you said finding another weapon besides Nico Collins. We all know how Joe Mixon started the year, but he really, really cooled off until recently. And Joe Mixon in that game against the Chargers as well at over 100 yards. He kind of got back in the groove. That's essential for them to have a chance in this game. Joe's got to be able to get going. But for me, it's all about Patrick Mahomes. We saw how this Houston Texans defense played. And Patrick Mahomes has had a lot more proven success in the playoffs compared to Justin Herbert. He is 15-3 all time in the playoffs, which is just mind-blowing to think about. First of all, how many times you've been there, but just 3 losses. 2 of those came when Tom Brady was in the league. So that paints a picture within itself. I was just looking at some of his numbers, too, when you talk about 18 games in the playoffs, 41 passing touchdowns, only 8 interceptions. He's rushed for 524 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. This guy is productive no matter if he's got wide receivers or not. And I think in this game in particular, he needs to continue to be Patrick Mahomes, what he is in the playoffs, what he's proven to be, especially with the hungry Houston defense that wants to prove, they can win a game like that.
Yep, 100%.
Coming off a divisional bye, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are 4-0, and they average 32.8 points per game after a first-round bye. I think the question for me is, does a patchwork Chiefs offensive line that's been reshuffled hold up against a really good Texans pass rush that's healthy? Once again. So since they put all-pro left guard Joe Thuney at left tackle in Week 15, he has not allowed a sack in 130 pass block attempts. The other 3 Chiefs left tackles allowed 11.5 sacks combined this season, according to NFL research. So moving their guard outside fixed their biggest problem on that offensive line. They were a revolving door of bad tackle play. Maybe not as bad as right tackle here, but not far off from essentially what you had happening at right tackle for the Titans, just shrunk down a little bit because the quarterback's so good. He's either getting the ball out or he's getting away from some of those rushes.
Joe Thuney's having a Marshall Yanda type of
Sure
pathway right now. That was elite watching. I also had that written down too. Other part that gets me, Will, with their offensive line is also the right tackle, Juwan Taylor, too. Like his ability, and I guess it's one of those things, if he continue to be illegal, they won't call it as much. But the referees in this game should actually like throw the flag more often. And then the other side too is Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter. Like, all right, Tony, like this is your opportunity here to really show like that you are that good at this spot.
It's problematic for us here how well it's worked for a left guard moving out to left tackle.
Yeah. Hey,
Peter
I
Skoronski,
get that.
come on down.
I get that.
Come on
100%.
down. After that, Saturday night, we have Commanders at Lions. I'm very excited about this game. I think this is the really interesting potential upset game. What's your big thing on this one?
Can Detroit handle success at home? Like that sounds so cliche. Like, and what I mean by that is, will they get too cute too? The reverses, the offensive lineman involvement, just the coaches, both of them, coordinators, got head coaching jobs. They're on the line. Like, can they handle all of this going into it? Because Detroit's been successful, but like, can they get over the hump? Because the success that a guy like what's his name can have, the quarterback from Washington,
Jayden
Daniels,
yeah.
like, you don't know what he's like in these moments. So because of that, can you do too much also, considering the hits that defense has had too? I'm more worried about what Detroit is actually going to execute more than what Washington is bringing to them.
Yeah, and that is an interesting point because for the most part, they've been really good at home this year. They have a loss to the Buccaneers, which was that 20-16 game. And then they also have a loss to the Bills, which was 48-42. So both really close games when they were playing at home. But other than that, they've been really good. For me, you guys, it goes to the Commanders. If you're going to have a chance in this game on the road, in this divisional round, it's all about doing what you've done all season long. Keep games close, right? Because that is what they've been able to put themselves in the mix. And even if they're not in it right away, they've been able to come back at a certain point and give them a chance down the stretch. And so I feel like if they give themselves a chance down the stretch of this game, they know how to win in these moments. So in a way, I almost give the Commanders an option or an opportunity to win if they get it close within like the final, few minutes of a game, because they've literally done it so many times. They've won these one-score games.
You guys are the last rookie quarterback to win a playoff game for Washington?
No. Uh-oh.
Any guesses?
Kirk Cousins?
No.
Oh.
Rookie play. Okay.
Let's go back to 1937 when Sammy Baugh, who wasn't even listed at quarterback, he was listed as a running back in the NFL championship as a rookie in 1937.
Wow.
Won a playoff game for Washington. There was no QB listed in that 1937 NFL championship, and he led the team with 335 passing yards and 3 touchdowns.
Sammy Baugh played 16 years. What a career.
He did
Incredible.
everything, too.
What?
Everything. What, he's a kicker? Yeah. He was literally the definition of punt, pass, and kick.
That's awesome.
You see how his career started off? All pro, Pro Bowl, all pro.
Oh, he's one of the greatest of all time.
He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, clearly.
Jaden Daniels, 69% completion rate, an all-time qualified rookie record. Tomorrow, he could also become the first rookie quarterback to win multiple playoff games despite his team not ranking in the top 3 in scoring defense in the regular season. Wow. So Washington this season, 18th in points per game allowed. I would take the over in this game. Mark Sanchez, Joe Flacco, Brock Purdy, the rookie quarterbacks to win multiple playoff games. All 3 of those teams had top 3 defenses in the NFL. Mark Sanchez in 2009, that Jets defense was the best in points per game allowed. The 2008 Ravens were 3rd, and the 2022 Niners were the best defense of the NFL as well. I think the thing interesting from the Detroit perspective, they average 146.5 rushing yards per game right now. That's 6th in the NFL. Commanders, one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, allowed the 3rd most rushing yards per game at 137.5. So that's the biggest advantage either side has. Washington's got to get off to a good start, because if Detroit is ahead and salting away the game, as good as they are at running and as bad as Washington is at stopping it, I don't think Washington could stop them if they get down early. So interesting matchup, interesting game script. You look at the way these two teams play and how bad Detroit's been on defense down the stretch. It's just always interesting. One of these teams with a bye usually either loses or really, really plays with their food a little bit. And I think this is the one where that could happen.
I want to see if also the middle defense for the Commanders can actually cover the tight ends and across the middle from Detroit, too. Like Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, like, can they actually control what they're able to do down the field and over the middle? Because Jahmyr Gibbs, they get David Montgomery back this week. Like, they like to play close to the line. And the screen game.
Yeah.
Can they close out on that to that point?
It's going to feel like a Thanksgiving game.
It does.
Kind
Like
of, yeah.
Lions Commanders feels like a game that should be happening on Thanksgiving while you're eating cranberry sauce and
Love that.
trying to avoid family members that you don't want to talk to.
Yeah, is that too? Or not answering
It'll be
texts.
wild in there.
Rams at Eagles begins the Sunday afternoon festivities. I'm curious how good the healthy Rams are, because I feel like when they are at their best, they are still as good as maybe anyone in the NFL.
I agree. No, seriously. Like, the Rams have a quarterback. And that's showing me a whole lot. They got a young defense that is making
They got a
plays.
coach, too.
They do have a coach. They
Smart
know how
guy.
to dial it up. Also, I don't want to diss like the Rams at all. I just don't believe in what they got going on, other than the fact that they found ways to win, and maybe they found the weakest link as it pertains to like the quarterback on the other side of the football. I did not expect their defense to play the way it does, but when you look at Jared Verse, you look at our guy Byron Young, like they got guys all across this defense that just happen to just make plays. They are playing, to me at this point, well, from last weekend, more like a team and playing complementary football to where they didn't have much of a lag. They needed something in that last game. They found it against the Vikings. Everything that you ask of a team to do, offense, defense, and special teams, is where they were. Nobody had Jared Verse having a scoop and score. Nobody had a rookie in Braden Fisk having a crucial sack to be gotten at the time. They got cornerbacks that are playing lights out right now, and that offensive line has somehow found its way to be decent enough to keep Matthew Stafford clean. And, of course, I don't understand how in the heck do you not find where Puka Nacua is? He is by far the like
Cooper Kupp too.
I think, yeah, and I think that's
where
they got to get Cooper Kupp going.
So to me, I'm somewhat disrespectful to the Rams. Like, I just don't think they have a chance this upcoming weekend. I don't.
This is how they have a chance, for my one thing. So the first time that they played the Eagles, Saquon had one of his best games on the ground. He had 225 yards rushing, 9th most in NFL history, right?
Right.
The Rams defense has gotten much better since that meeting. And right now, the Eagles passing game is kind of not relevant. It's really been bad. The Eagles had 121 net passing yards against the Green Bay Packers in that wild card round. They've failed to throw for more than 210 yards in 12 of their 18 games this season. So if this Rams team can somewhat shut down Saquon Barkley with this defense this time, you're going to have an issue if you're the Eagles being able to do a lot in the passing game in terms of just what history has shown in the last few games. So I feel like that's the key. If the Rams can somewhat quiet Saquon, which is difficult to do, but they've shown they've been a better defense, I think that could give them a chance.
It's a really interesting mix of strengths because the Rams pass rush against the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line is about as good as it gets in terms of matchups in this league. So in that Week 12 game, the Eagles won 37-20 over the Rams. Of those 255 yards Saquon Barkley had, 162 of them were after contact. That is the most in his career, the second most by any player in a game this season other than Damian Pierce in Week 18. Shout out Tennessee Titans. So they just didn't tackle him. I mean, Saquon Barkley ran crazy against L.A. in that first game. Interesting, though, from the L.A. perspective as well, Jared Verse had his quietest game of the season the first time around against Philly. Only had one pressure on 19 pass rushes. That was his fewest pressures in a game this season. And over the course of the regular season, Jared Verse and Byron Young, I mean, it's funny how close Tennessee was to having both of those players as Vols. Because Jared Verse is a transfer from Albany, was between Tennessee and FSU, and to FSU, of course, Byron Young, we know about. 76 pressures, the fourth most in the NFL, the second most by any rookie in a season since 2018. So the Rams defense, they generated pressure against the Eagles, but according to Next Gen Stats, it took them 3.63 seconds on average. So although they were sometimes getting pressure, Jalen Hurts still had all day. against them. This is a Jalen Hurts game. If you want to be considered with the great quarterbacks in this league, you have to perform on a stage like this at home behind the best offensive line in football, one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in football, and a top 10 wide receiver in A.J. Brown. Go out and do it, Jalen. I think he is that good. I think he's capable. Yeah. But you're 100% right. That passing game has not looked right. And though he's been banged up, I just have a weird feeling that the Rams might win this one because I just don't believe in Jalen Hurts.
You know the answer I have for you? Inner excellence. Train your mind for extraordinary performance in the best possible life. I say that for this reason. I feel like we've had a conversation about when a wide receiver get ticked off, that wide receiver get his the next week. Sure. And I feel like that's where AJ's at.
And to be fair, AJ Brown shows up in the biggest games.
Yeah.
He 100, like whether it's prime time, whether it's Monday Night Football, whether it's rivalries, whether it's divisional or playoffs. Yep. I mean, he had a pretty good divisional round game here in 2021. The ball was just thrown to the other team 3 times. Sorry about that. Ravens at Bills, the biggest matchup of the weekend. This is one I have very little read on because while I think the Ravens are better than Buffalo, I am not going to bet against that Buffalo team in their own stadium in 0-degree weather. Not really, but it would feel like it to me in prime time. What's your one big thing on this one?
I feel like we're all going to have a similar one on this.
Go ahead.
There's so much.
It's so much, yeah.
Mine's pretty basic, and it's probably the most obvious, but I think it's one that could change the trajectory of these two quarterbacks and getting them over the hump, guys, because Josh Allen, 6-5 record, right, in his playoff career. Lamar Jackson, 3-4 record. These are two guys that are trying to just get over the hump when it comes to leading their franchise to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I think it really truly does come down to, with all the parts around them that can help them win this game, I think it comes down to which quarterback is able to will its team in this and what they're going to look like after this too. Because it's incredible that they're meeting, and that's what makes it so exciting. And it's hard to get a read because they've been so similar, throughout these playoffs, these postseason runs. They're both incredible quarterbacks. They both are worthy of the MVP this year. But who gets over the hump?
Mine is this simple. As good as Josh Allen has been this year, can they find a rushing game to complement his passing? The last time they played them, Baltimore only allowed 81 rushing yards. They had a turnover that game. One thing about this time of the year is I think as much as I want to lean into like the scoring that it can happen, I just don't know if the Ravens defense is going to allow Josh Allen and his running game and his legs to just steal chains, steal first downs. And it's going to be hard to see that defense with what I know of and how they've been playing as of late, give it up to him and just say, all right, we're going to let you play complimentary football. I don't see the Bills having a real good running game against the Ravens.
It's all led up to this for Baltimore. It really has. Interesting feelings around those two teams because Derrick Henry obviously raises the expectation level. And when you have the MVP, you're always going to have Super Bowl level expectations. And that's exactly what Baltimore has. But it's funny. It almost feels like Buffalo, in a way, got rid of a big weapon, yet is piecing it together by committee. And Baltimore kind of built up to this moment by adding the one big weapon to put this all together. Josh Allen was pressured 44% of the time in that Week 4 loss to Baltimore, the second highest pressure rate he faced, and the most sacks he took all season in a game, only 3. He's not been hit, not been sacked that much. I think it comes down to which quarterback is better off script. Who throws the ball to the other team when they scramble and get out of the pocket, and who hits an explosive play when they scramble and get out of the pocket. I think that's the difference of the game, and I think it's going to be a great one.
I do, too.
I think it's going to be a really, really good game.
That one right there, so you should have your eyelids peeled back.
I'm glad I'm not
at
Bert this weekend.
Nah, me too.
Man, who are you telling, dude? they did me
this is what you live for. It's like what we talked about with the Ohio State game. Like, you got to embrace it. You got to embrace the stress and the pacing and the, gosh, can it just get here already? Like, that's the beauty of sports. It just doesn't feel like it in the moment.
Where are you at?
They did me so good last weekend putting the game early in the weekend. So Saturday, got it over with, got to celebrate celebrate a little bit, hang out. Now we're the last game.
Awful.
The tiptoe over the line, 5:30 kickoff's not bad. I can deal with that, but it's still stressed. I'm pretty confident in the fact that the game, like you guys said, the game plan for the Ravens probably hasn't changed week to week as much offensively. It's still going to be the Derrick Henry show. It's still going to be the Isaiah Likely show. They're going to run out there in 12 personnel with an extra offensive lineman with big beefy guys like Bat Ricard and see if they can match them consistently. And if I trust Derrick. There was a clip last week where Derrick was talking to running backs coach Willie Taggart. It's crazy to say that.
I know, right?
And he was like, I see this so much better now than I did at the beginning of the year because of you. Talking about cutback lanes. I think it was a trap play. He was like, I see this so much better that I could bounce this or that I can. And just hearing him talk like that someone that late in their career is still seeing things or seeing things better. New things gives me a lot of faith that they would be able to at least keep this game competitive.
I wonder if you could have seen it here in Nashville.
Bring in Willie Taggart.
Coming up next, there is news this morning in the NFL. International games continue to be released. A new one that has a team in the AFC scheduled to host. There is a reason why we might see the Titans in one of these sooner rather than later. Where do you want to see them? We'll talk about that next. Hey, what's up? It's Will Bowling. To all my facility managers out there, is your HVAC system keeping up with winter's chill? Well, whether you are looking for an upgrade for your facility or you're needing maintenance, the team at Lee Company is here to help. For over 80 years, their expert team has been here to make your life easier and keep your place of business running efficiently year-round. Available 24/7, 365. You got to call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000. Or contact them online at leecompany.com. That's professional HVAC solutions for any type of facility for the folks who have over 80 years of experience. Lee Company's been trusted since 1944. When you put Lee Company on your team, you're getting folks with 14 community locations, members of our communities, proud partners of the Titans, Preds, and much, much more. They'll help you out at a moment's notice when you call 615-567-1000. They're online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company. All you need. A first in the NFL for 2025 has already been announced this morning. It's RKW, wrapping up hour number 1 on this Friday edition. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. Official from the league, the Miami Dolphins will be the home team in the NFL's first ever game in Madrid during the 2025 season. Opponent will be announced in the spring, but Miami gets the home designation. So Buck made this point a couple weeks ago. I feel like the Titans are probably back in line for an international game in 2026 as the home team.
That's fair.
Because the way these things rotate, I don't think the league, and he didn't either, and I totally agree with him, will want to waste a home game overseas on a team with a new stadium once that new stadium opens.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. So I
And
never
it's
understood
been,
the
2 years?
Yeah, it's been like 2
last
years.
season.
I never understood the rotation of it though, so it's hard for me to call it because Pittsburgh never really did it like that. Like I only remember it happening once for them, so I don't understand the rotation of it more than anything. But they're adding more games, so more teams are going to go over there.
I would guess they didn't include Pittsburgh because you guys can sell tickets anywhere over here anyway.
Yeah.
Like if they can send people over there who maybe don't sell as many tickets.
Is that what it really is?
I mean,
Look at the Jags.
I would guess so.
I thought the Jags because their ownership's like
that too.
businesses over there.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
he
'cause
wants
he's
to be
British.
over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shad Khan,
They
the
also
owner
don't
of
sell
Fulham
tickets.
Football Club.
When was the last time? Baltimore was recent, right?
It was the
Yeah.
Titans. That was the last time they
I'm
went
tripping.
overseas.
Yeah, it was. I remember that. And the MPF had an immaculate game that day.
Immaculate.
And that was the last time.
Oh, yeah.
It's-
Ramon chewing on his
Yeah.
his corncob pipe over there. Yeah, he had immaculate game.
Packers legend Malik
chap.
Willis.
I was
Yeah,
going to say,
it was.
that was not a good
Packers
showing
legend.
for that,
Yeah,
for that young
I
man.
remember that. Goodness gracious, man.
Where would you want to go?
Australia.
Oh,
Australia.
is that an option?
Ooh, that would be cool.
I don't know, but I think it should be.
Let me do some work on that.
The jet lag difference
would
though,
be-
for
it
players
would be tough.
vicious.
But you asked me where I want to go, and that'd be a
You'd
thing.
need 2 bye weeks
Australia.
to do Australia.
Yeah, you would. That's going to be a long flight right there. I do the Germany games. I ain't going to lie to you. I think I like one of those. Those would be pretty sweet right there.
This was an update from CBS Sports.
Yeah.
Though the NFL is expanding through international games to 8 for the 2025 season, it is believed that Australia, specifically Sydney and Melbourne, will have to wait for another year. So a 2026 season berth for
Ooh,
Australia.
Perfect. Titans.
Nice.
Ooh.
I would say Mexico City, but you won't be able to move around and do what you want to over there either.
The Estadio Azteca.
Yeah,
Haven't you been there?
Yeah, I've been there, and we did a camp there one year, and like we had to like be ridden around with like guards with guns out. Like, but I will tell you, we went to a club there, and boy, it was a grand old time. Like they partied till like 5 a.m, legitimately.
sure.
Like 5, I was like, y'all not ready to go?
I bet it would suck for the players, but doing a game in Japan would be cool as hell.
I would love it.
Oh,
It would
that's
be
a long
cool
flight.
as hell, especially the
love it.
merch. Imagine the merch
Yeah.
they would put out for those two teams. A once in a lifetime
That'd be cool.
opportunity to see like your team's logo, like in a font like that. You know,
And they love sports. Like Japan loves sports. Obviously, baseball, right, is a
of course.
biggie over there. But I think they'd embrace the NFL coming over there for a game.
Berlin would be cool, or Mexico City.
Spain, man, would be so cool.
Oh, yeah.
The Santiago Bernabeu that just got updated and renovated, and it is they've got another retractable pitch there. It's where Real Madrid plays. But the history of some of those stadiums, some of those clubs, because the 2 Spanish clubs are probably the 2 biggest in world football historically, in Madrid and Barcelona. But the new camp being updated as well, and what Barcelona Stadium is undergoing that renovation is also sweet. But going to the Bernabeu the way Miami is going to, it would be just like unbelievably
pretty cool.
And Spain's just sweet in general.
I'd
Spain
love
would
to
be
visit
awesome.
Spain.
Yeah.
Ramon, why do you think more sumo players don't play football?
Why don't they?
Yeah, it's all a leverage-based gimmick with them, too. You know what I mean? Like, you would think that they would be able to be nose tackles or daggum guards or something. Like,
Dan McCullers could have been
get
on
your
Sumo.
big fat ass out here and
Or just
pull on somebody.
pancake people.
VFL.
Because they can't move side to side. That's why everything is straight ahead. And then also it's a thinker's game too. Like so, I don't.
What
they
do you
just
call it?
touch and go.
Not smart?
It's
They
a
got
dumb
one-
sumo
they
wrestler.
got They got
Thinker's
one
game.
damn skill. 2 of them. Okay, eat a bunch of like
Pancake.
food and go straight. That's what they do. Touch touch and go. Like, can you imagine one of them going like,
disrespect.
yeah, you damn right, because ain't no disrespect to like what the offensive line or D-line do here. Absolutely
Playing
not.
the victim.
We should get a sumo wrestler on line one. Let's do a do.
Okay,
A
so I got to do
a duel.
Yeah, right.
I got to do a little more research on
this.
this, but Colorado State in 2023 added a national sumo champion from Japan whose name was Hanada.
Wow.
I have to see how Hanada did.
See, this is why right here, NFL teams have so many sucky lines right here. This is why college coaches can't find good offensive linemen, because y'all think you can just throw any old person out there and they become a stud. Absolutely not. Just because some person, I've seen so many big dudes that have been more soft than a ball of cotton. Absolutely not.
I mean, Isaiah Wilson kind of resembled a sumo wrestler.
I mean, the way he got plowed over on that extra point and field goal, I mean, that's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, this dude's kind of ass too. He only got to play when they were getting their butt whooped, and he had 3 tackles against Air Force in a 30-13 loss. So maybe sumo wrestlers aren't as good as I thought they would be.
He was fighting a ground war against her.
Or the Bills dude, who was it? Was it the wrestler?
Gable Stevenson,
Yeah, like get his ass out of camp too.
That's classic June sports talk radio, by the way, when like the token rugby player always gets silent. Well, could this be a trend? 6-1. It never is.
Louis Zarid
barely makes a practice.
Whoever the guy was for the Chiefs this
Wasn't
year.
there a Patriots guy too? What was the Patriots?
I'm sure
Yeah.
that's the Belichick.
Ben
play.
Hogan was the lacrosse player for the Patriots.
Get him out of here too.
Blacks,
Did he
bro.
actually play? Ben Hogan.
I'm all for like other athletes playing football and
know.
Ramon being mad. He's like,
He
get
hates
these
that.
cyclists out of here. Get these
Yeah.
It's just,
athletes.
you know how many times we had to deal with like track players at like track runners at Tennessee, sprinters. Sprinters.
Oh, wait
They
now.
think, we can run a 40 just because you run fast on a track. No, come and put these pads on and look side to side
faster
for a hit.
than football players.
Well, can they survive a hit? Absolutely not.
That wasn't the question.
Which one has survived football?
I was just said we're faster.
I'm just saying.
I was going to say Adoree Jackson, but then again,
He was a runner too.
He was a runner.
at
Jumper.
USC, real
Oh, yeah.
real
He was a
good
track star.
athlete. Yeah, his NFL career not as good as
Football
you probably
player
thought.
first.
Yeah,
Bert's so mad we didn't laugh at his joke.
It's okay.
615-737-1045 is our number. A detail that was interesting yesterday, more drama around Deion Sanders. I, for one, am shocked. That's next.
What's going on, you bunch of hoodlums? 7:01, good morning. Happy Friday from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I am Robert Walsh. The Titans completed in-person interview yesterday with Buccaneers Assistant General Manager John Spytek and Packers Vice President of Player Personnel John Eric Sullivan for the team's general manager position. Those were the final two planned second interviews of the week, so the Titans could have a new general manager by Monday. Checking into the injuries for the playoffs, Texans running back Joe Mixon and linebacker Azeez Al-Shire were both listed as questionable for Saturday's playoff game at Kansas City. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, and DJ Humphries all off the injury report. They're ready to go. Wide receiver Mecole Hardman, who remains on injured reserve, is doubtful. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Seven a.m., second hour of the show getting started. This is your Friday morning RKW. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, Robert Walsh hitting all the right buttons, including ours. 615-737-1045 is the number. And there is another report about Deion Sanders in Dallas and resistance with Colorado and NIL resources. So NFL Network's Jane Slater puts this out there yesterday, saying that Deion Sanders asked athletic director Rick George for additional NIL and staff resources amid the Cowboys' pursuit, but he was, quote, met with resistance. Sanders confirmed he spoke with Jerry Jones about the Cowboys opening after the franchise, of course, parted ways with Mike McCarthy. He told ESPN's Adam Schefter it was, quote, intriguing to talk to Jerry Jones about the position, but acknowledged his focus was on Colorado. Jane Slater adding Colorado would neither confirm nor deny the info when she reached out. Deion Sanders did not respond when reached multiple times for comment.
Fascinating, man. I think this does have a little bit more smoke. Well, a little bit more fire than it is smoke at this point, though, too. And here's the thing behind it. I don't necessarily think that this is leverage for Deion to get more money from the school. Deion is rich as heck anyway. Like, he's a brand in itself. His shoes are paying him more royalties probably now than his Colorado contract is, too. So I do think there's a legitimate, like, push to get Deion to Dallas. It's a matter of how accepting Jerry Jones is going to be on this one, too. And if you got Colorado's AD, Rick George, already pushing back on NIL incentives. I mean, money, pools. Like, I feel like they're going in protection mode, too, because this could be more real than I think most folks will believe it to be. The only thing is, I just don't know if Deion's going to be able to get Shador from 12 is the only thing that you got to deal with in this situation. I was at the barbershop yesterday having this exact same conversation.
It's a topic everywhere,
yeah,
right?
It's the topic everywhere because the attachment is Deion to Shador.
Mm-hmm. And there's not a ton of opportunities. Like, it'd be one thing, I think, if they were a top 5 pick and being able to do this deal with Deion and bring him over and kind of ensuring that you're going to go get his kid.
Yeah.
But because they're at 12 and there's a lot more wheeling and dealing that has to go on with the teams in front of him, including the Titans that would be in that conversation, that's a lot to figure out. Like, not only are you trying to figure out who your next head coach is, but if it is Deion, how are we going to then leverage ourselves to go up and get his son? Because you know Deion's coming in there, no matter what, we all know he wants his son, right? That's why he would take this job. So I think if they can knock out those things, maybe have a plan, then we could see this moving forward. But you can't always plan these things. I mean, this is a this is an ongoing situation during the draft and these deals that happen. I'll tell you this much though, with these All-Star games happening and the Senior Bowl coming up, you do wonder if things start to heat up with what we hear out of these camps, because we all know, like Coach Mack said yesterday, a lot of talk and negotiations start at these types of bowl games.
Only real quick
Senior
before you
Bowl
go,
games.
like, does Deion have to have Shador? Is like, where are y'all at?
I think so.
If he wants the job, I say no. Like,
I just
but
don't-
I
yeah.
believe
I think
that
he's going to have to
question.
accept that he might not be able to coach his son.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know
if he wants
to
that
do
job,
that.
like if he actually want to coach in the NFL.
Right.
Yeah.
What's more important to you? Because it might be easier for the Raiders to give him the keys and get Shador, and obviously he's not in the mix there. It seems like that's going to be Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
But
It's a good point. Mo.
it's the best case for the Titans if he does get the job, because you would get a haul. You'd have to get a haul. Now, granted, are you willing to move back to the 12th pick if you're the Titans? That's a little dicey as well. Like it would take a package similar to what the Titans got from the Rams for the number 1 overall pick in 2016. So when the Titans made that trade, they moved back to 15. Now, granted, they ended up moving back up to get Jack Conklin. They didn't stick at 15. But for the number 1 pick that was ultimately used on Jared Goff, they got 2016 first, 2 seconds in 2016, a third in 2016, a first in 2017, and a third in 2017.
Wow.
So that's 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 thirds for your number 1 overall pick, a 4 and a 6. That's the kind of haul that you would be able to get if Dallas was going to trade you 12 and maybe even a player in there for the number 1 overall pick.
But then you still have your issue with who's your quarterback, right? Because I don't think the Dak Prescott part of it is happening. And it might. I mean, maybe they just say, we're going to eat the money. Like, we're just going to take on that contract. But that's a lot of money.
You would have
That's
2
a
first-round
lot of
picks
money.
next year to maneuver with if you wanted to go get a quarterback and move up.
I would. That's what I was gonna say. Like you
Just
You got poker chips to
Play it
play
out.
with at the table. You got a heck of a lot more capital to work with.
it's so much on your plate at that point if you're the Titans and you accept it. But one thing you cannot do. This is my opinion. You can't take Dak. You can't. You
No.
take somebody else.
It's not going to happen.
I'm with
Yeah,
you.
that's
on
what I'm saying.
that
That's
too.
what you do on the video game. It's not what
Yeah.
you do in real life.
Yeah.
And there's a $100 million dead cap charge if they traded him.
Also, he's not getting any younger. And if you're going to get him, and maybe you do go get a quarterback the next year, but you're looking at Dak, you take on that money, you're then expecting him to be there for the next few years. And I don't see them going into a brand new stadium with an aging Dak Prescott, who has already kind of endured injuries throughout his career. He's a good quarterback, but it is what he is right now. With this team moving forward in what they want to do, I don't think that would ever be the case.
I wouldn't even hate having Dak. It's just the financials just don't make sense.
Right, but you'd also I'd need them to draft a quarterback still.
Oh,
I don't,
yeah. Right.
moving forward.
Well, we're going to talk about it later with John Eric Sullivan interviewing yesterday, and you're emulating the Packers way and the Packers model. That would be a Packers way of doing business.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
Having a veteran quarterback in Dak Prescott and allowing another late first or second or whatever round pick to sit for 2, 3, 4 years behind him. It just financially, it's fantasy land. It's not real. Like there's no way the Titans are taking on that contract without just being given like one of the biggest trade packages that's ever been given in order to do it.
And then thing so too, in my opinion, though, Kayla, like 31, 32 is still hitting prime for quarterbacks also. Well, you expect them to be more mentally sharp. Dak gotta, stay out of the injury bug
That's the
tent if
biggest
he
thing
can
with
help
him.
himself a little bit more, because I'm watching Stafford right now. I think Stafford's my age, 38, 39, or whatever he is right now. He is the 36. Wow.
Old as hell.
Damn, Moan.
I tell you something. You got a bucket in your vehicle, don't you?
Why would I have a bucket in my
There's a
vehicle?
trash
Because I
can
need the
right there.
waterboard burn.
I'm not going to be an accessory to this.
I'm ready to
I'm
waterboard
to be an
in, Will.
accessory
We
to
ride
this.
in the same car together, and Will brought me here. Is what I'm telling you.
So you made the point earlier about Deion Sanders, going back to the original point, that he's already rich enough.
Yeah.
He doesn't need the money. He can always need something. And the reason is for that, there's always something for college football coaches to negotiate, even if it's not them getting paid. The salary pool that Deion Sanders has at Colorado is $5 million. That is number 44 in assistant coach salaries in college football. So even if you're not asking for more money for you, there's always more NIL money. There's always more facility upgrades. There's always stadium and weight room and recruiting and assistant coach salaries. So I will raise my probability of Deion Sanders being the Cowboys coach from 10% to 12%. I still do not think this is realistic. I think it is very un-Cowboys-like to do that. They value people with head coaching experience that are way more established than Deion Sanders. And I know that the storyline and the relationship and the friendship is one thing with Jerry Jones and Deion Sanders. I get all that. It would just be a very un-Jerry and un-Cowboys-like move to admit that they have to go get a college coach with so little experience. They view that job so highly. They believe that established coaches and established NFL people are all that they belong, or the best of the best of the best in college football. And Deion Sanders has done a good job. He's not that yet.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, you got to be really smart about this. And I don't know what he'll be if he does take a job in the NFL. I wonder that, his connection to Colorado, to me, I look at that connection and it was all just for me, it was all about his sons and, Travis Hunter. That's what I connect Colorado, those three, and Deion Sanders. I feel like once those three are gone, I don't really know what the connection is with Deion Sanders in Colorado. You get what I'm kind of painting the picture as?
Why is he still there?
How dedicated really are you to that university to make it better in the long run? I don't know if something more dazzling comes about, but that also has to be Jerry Jones also wanting Deion. So
right, I have no doubt Deion wants the Cowboys job, but I just don't think there is a mutual interest enough to rise to the level of legitimate candidate. Maybe.
Interesting.
If I was Kellen Moore, I'd be ticked off right now. I'd be so ticked off.
Or Robert Saleh, who's apparently in the mix for that too.
Head coach, though?
Yep.
Ooh.
That would be a very Jerry Jones hire, Robert Saleh.
For sure.
That blows my mind. Absolutely not. That would, no.
I don't really love either of them.
You don't like Robert Saleh as a head coach?
I mean, I don't know if I'm to blame him for losing control with the
defense
Jets.
Got a lot worse when he left.
It did, but also like the management of your quarterback. And offense.
Yeah.
Like they misstep time and time again right there. And that's his biggest issue he's going to have.
I don't know how many coaches would have handled Aaron Rodgers well at this point of his career and how toxic that guy is.
You know what?
And that owner and Woody Johnson.
The toxicity of it for me is watching Aaron Rodgers pretty much like disrespect the heck out of him. Like as a player, like as a coach, you can't allow that to happen either. Like,
I mean, it's fair. He didn't handle that situation perfectly, but I do think he deserves another shot to be a head coach. Robert Saleh. I don't think anybody was winning in that organization at that moment with that QB and everything that went on around it.
I think he's a solid lieutenant.
Yeah.
Coming up, VolQuest Brent Hubbs will join us. Transfer portal nuggets out of Knoxville as Tennessee searches for help in the portal at a number of positions and looks for help at corner where they've lost Sherrod McCoy to a torn ACL this offseason. What's his timeline for return? The latest recruiting nuggets and whatever else Brent leads us to coming up next. RKW Friday morning continues here on 104.5 The Zone. Crew is all here. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, joined by our very good friend Brent Hubbs of All Quested on 3 with the latest out of Knoxville this morning. Brent, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Hope you guys are well this morning.
We are excellent. Divisional round football. We've got a GM search. We've got transfer portal. It is all happening as always.
So what you're telling me is everybody's still drinking at this point in time. That's what the song just said, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Heads are always on swivels, Brent, as you know.
I understand. Trust me. I totally get it. We're sitting here looking at rev share, and everything changes by the minute. So who knows what that's going to look like in 5 months, So
Totally.
It's always something.
Yeah, I don't even know if this is a football city with a drinking problem. It's just a city with a drinking problem right now with football issues.
Drinking city with a football problem.
Yeah, seriously.
No doubt about it. Well, Brent, good news for Tennessee this week. On one front, as they get Tim Banks reportedly locked down with an extension. How did this materialize? And were you surprised there wasn't more interest in him from teams like Penn State and Clemson and some of these big programs with big defensive coordinator openings?
There was a little bit, maybe not the Penn State thing. I think that I'm not saying he and James Franklin have a bad relationship, because I don't believe they do, but I don't think that's the direction James Franklin was going to go after he removed, and his two co-coordinators, one of those being Banks, moved on, and he moved on to somewhere else. I didn't think he would circle back around there. What you don't know in this deal is you don't know how much there was ever really any interest. You don't know how much Tim Banks really pushed himself to try to be in play at some other schools, how much of this was agent movement and agent driven. That's always a factor here. What we know is that Tennessee's been actively trying to get Tim Banks extended for a month and a half now, 2 months, and they're going to finally get it home. So we think they're going to get it home. It's not signed, but I think it's agreed upon, and they're just waiting on everything to be, I's dotted and T's crossed, and that seems to take forever with contracts at the University of Tennessee. See Tony Vitello back this summer. Right. So, I believe it's going to get done. I don't think there's going to be any opening that pops up here that changes any of that. But, I think some of this was agent driven. I think some of this was they just put things on the shelf and didn't go about it. I know that there was some early inquiries from Miami, and he had no interest in Miami, none whatsoever. I don't know where the Clemson thing really ended up being. His name got mentioned, but I don't know that it ever really got down the road with anything. But when you're trying to get a new deal done, part of your agent's job is to keep your name in the news and try to make it, get yourself involved in other jobs to help your negotiation leverage and all that stuff. And that's the game we've been playing for the last few weeks.
So, Brent, the bad news on that side of the ball, Jermon McCoy and his torn ACL, first reported by you guys in Austin earlier this week. What is his timetable? Is there optimism he's available when Tennessee takes on a pretty good Syracuse team to start next season?
Yeah, there's hope. I don't know if optimism. He's early in the stages of rehabbing after having surgery, and you just never know how anybody recovers from one of those. There's so many variables for everybody's body in that. We've seen Amari Rodgers, for example, when he was at Clemson, tore his later, actually a little later in the spring, and was back for the season opener. When everybody said that he was planning on being back for the opener, you're like, there's no way he recovers that fast. And he did. Everybody's different. And so we'll see how McCoy recovers and where it goes from there. There's certainly hope that that's the case. But I don't think anybody is declaring that the definite timetable. I think Tennessee's been looking in the portal for a little insurance and protection and depth at that position. I don't think anything's materializing right now. We'll see if anybody goes in the portal in the coming days. Does a grad transfer go in the portal? Or is Tennessee still pursuing at that position when the spring portal window opens up? We'll have to sit back and wait and see. What we know is, Jalen McMurray, you're on deck, time to go. And obviously Ricky Gibson's going to be an anchor for them at corner. And the hope would be that McCoy is back sooner rather than later, but you just don't know for sure.
Brent Hubbs with us, a Vol question on 3. Hubbs, man, like Will and I, Kayla and I also were speaking about like football on Saturdays, almost being gone except for the NFL. Well, guess what, man? Our good friend and Tennessee native, man, Glorilla, will be hosting Saturday Night Live.
Oh, my gosh. I did not know where you were going with that.
She will be hosting Saturday Night Live with Dave Chappelle, man. What a win for the state, Hubbs, and for me and you.
Unbelievable, Ramon. We're actually going to get you to stay up past your bedtime, which is going to be exciting. You're going to be up at 11:30 at night to watch TV. I mean, I'm sure you'll have to get a nap sometime in between during the day to get yourself ready. But, yeah, it's a huge win for you. And congratulations to all. And I don't know that replaces football for me, Ramon. I'm sorry. I mean, I understand it does for you.
Yep.
I mean, I know you sort of like football, and it's kind of it's sort of a big deal to you. But you got a lot of other interests in the world. The rest of us, man, like we're football 365, right? And so, I'll probably be watching game tape of or watching an old game at that point instead of Saturday Night Live would be my guess.
Hey, my advice for you, just don't fall asleep on planes watching the tape, okay?
Trust me, there's way too many pictures of me floating around, mouth wide open, looking up against the plane window. You just hope nobody's posting those anywhere, because nobody can fall asleep faster on a plane than I can, but that's a given.
You want to hear what's funny about that? What year was this? It had to be 2008. Miss Vicky Fulmer got me and Anthony Parker sleep behind her and Coach Fulmer on the plane going out to the West Coast. I still have that picture somewhere. So, yeah, that happens even from the head coach's wife.
I don't have one from a celebrity like you do, but trust me, I've got plenty of family who are taking laughing pictures at me sound asleep on airplanes.
No doubt. Hubbs, I'll report back to you on how Glorilla does, though. But
okay,
besides,
thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Besides,
if you're going to work next week, I mean, we got to see if we can get back-to-back weeks out of it.
well,
you want to keep going, Ramon?
No. I appreciate you playing my shenanigans, right? Playing my shenanigans. With that being said, though, too, man, you speak about these coaches and their contracts, Hubs. Like, as far as assistant coaches and coordinators, right? Is there, like, with Coach Eckler, is it just like bad blood that like they don't get these types of things done, or is it just the way the business of assistant coaches go as it pertains to their contract extensions? Because he seems to have been flirting. They just let him go flirt with Nebraska, whoever else. Is that just how it goes?
I think that I don't think that they're wanting every coach out there to be exploring other jobs by any means, but Nebraska was a unique situation because that's where Mike Eckler's from. So, again, his name came up there. I don't know how deep the conversation has ever gotten. And that position's not been filled at Nebraska. It certainly doesn't feel like that Matt Rule is going to go the direction of Mike Eckler. Tennessee, by and large, under Danny White, has been slow to finalize deals. Most guys around the country and assistant coaches in football aren't working on expiring contracts. Most of them get an extension, an automatic rollover, and they have a 2-year deal as they enter into the season. But that's not been the way that Danny White has done it with some of his assistants at Tennessee, and that's why you've got 4 coaches when you count the strength coach who's been on expiring deals. I think they're all going to get a new deal. Now, do they get a multi-year deal, or is it a single-year deal like Willie Martinez got last year? Yeah. I don't think that Danny White's bothered by that, and for some, but it's a big thing because they come back to recruiting, and man, you got to show stability and have all of those things, and have show the commitment that the assistant coach is going to be here and all that type of thing. And I think Danny White believes, listen, if you do your job as an assistant coach, you're going to be here because the head coach wants you here. If you don't, then, you're subject to making a move, whether you're on a 2-year deal or a 1-year deal. So it's a little bit different philosophy, I think, than some other ADs have, and certainly different philosophy than some other ADs I've covered at Tennessee have had in terms of how many coaches are working on expiring deals. You don't see that a lot, but it's not been uncommon at Tennessee in football.
Brent Hubbs, our good friend of AllQuest, joining us as he does every Friday at this time. So with some key guys leaving on offense, Cooper Mays, Dylan Sampson, Brew McCoy, in terms of leadership, and we all know, Nico Iamaliava continues to grow into that role as well. But who else steps up in terms of the leadership department to guide this team next year?
I think I won't say the singular biggest question for this team in the offseason, but I do think it's a big question. And I think it's a question on both sides of the ball. We know Miles Kitselman, who's not been in this program long. He's moving into his second year. He's got some natural leadership ability, and I think he's been working pretty hard with Ethan Davis here the last couple of weeks. They got back to town early because he knows Ethan Davis has got to help him because, if you're going to go 12 personnel, you got to find a second tight end, and they need Ethan Davis to take a step forward. Now, they got the incoming freshman, but Davis is the most likely guy there, so I think Miles Kitselman's trying to push him, and I think Davis has got probably a greater sense of urgency right now because last year didn't go exactly the way he thought it would go. And now his time is here. He's got to show up. But I think on the other side of the ball, you have leadership questions too. I mean, who is going to be the leader? I mean, Omari Thomas has been a mainstay in the anchor for them defensively, and he's gone. Keenan Peely was a leader before he got hurt. So where's Arian Carter from a leadership standpoint? Jermod McCoy, a quiet guy, led by example. He's not going to be, he's not going to be on the practice field, and he's not going to be doing team activities while he rehabs. So where's your vocal leader on the defensive side of the ball? And that's an interesting deal, and Ramon would know this better than anybody in the locker room. I mean, you can't force that. I mean, a coach can want somebody, he's got to take the leadership role, but that guy's got to have everybody's respect in the locker room through his work ethic and how he goes about his business. And you can't just come in and be the unproven guy who starts screaming and shouting at people. It's got to come organically. How does that develop over the course of the next 5 or 6 weeks before Tennessee goes to spring practice, and how does it develop throughout this off season? Because it's going to be critical for Tennessee to have strong leadership when they get to the field this fall.
Brent, tell us about Star Thomas right now and just the update with him possibly seeing if they can get him to come over here to Tennessee.
Yeah, an unusual transfer in the fact that, he's a running back from Duke who ran for over 800 yards. So a guy who's proven, when you add in his totals at New Mexico State, he's rushed for 2,500 yards in college football. So a pretty successful career. He's a grad transfer, gone into the portal at Duke, but there hasn't been a ton of movement with him. Cal had some interest. Central Florida had some interest. And you kind of wonder, why? What's the hang-up there that nobody else, and no offense to those two schools, but nobody else of a Power 5 ilk or nobody in the Southeast, because he's originally from Homer, Louisiana, has had real interest in him. So, Tennessee's got him in town. Obviously a vetting process to look at him and, medically, where are you? Physically, are you a right culture fit? What's the NIL factor in this thing? Is he a guy who didn't get a lot of traction because his, quote, asking price was high? I don't know. So we'll see what happens with that one. Tennessee would like to add a back to add some depth to that room and some experience, and certainly Star Thomas has that and has been productive, and not just at New Mexico State, but in the ACC as well. So I think a pretty intriguing prospect. We'll see what happens after that visit ends, end of day today, first thing in the morning.
Brent Hubbs of AllQuest on 3, our guests this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Brent, it's amazing the amount of players who will put out graphics about where they're going to visit who never end up making it to campus. For half the programs they put out these graphics for. And you've got reputable people nationally who are know what they're doing, Brent, as you know, and then these players, whether it's leverage, whether it's agents, whether it's somebody in the family, because anybody can be an agent if you can just pick up a phone in college football, are putting these things out there. Is Tennessee currently on the board for any wide receivers within this, or is Tennessee just the school that wide receivers are using for leverage to get a bigger price from schools they're actually interested in?
Well, I think Tennessee, not just wide receiver, but I think Tennessee shows up on a lot of people's early list. And I think agents are using schools that have reputations as good NIL plans and a reputation of paying, decent amount of money. And, if a prospect hears from Tennessee and just a vetting out process, right? Just a simple call to say, hey, would you have any interest? Or, hey, would you like to have a conversation? Or, hey, kind of what's your asking price? What are you looking for? Then automatically there's an agent out there saying, man, they're interested. Tennessee's interested, or Oregon's interested, or, school X is interested, because it looks much better if you can put out 4 or 5, quote, big name schools that have a good NIL reputation to help your leveraging point, right? I mean, there's a reason Gundy at Oklahoma State, his name shows up every year. It has shown up every year for 10 years on coaching searches, and he's never moved, right? I mean, there's some people that kind of play that for the leverage game. And, I think that, there's a lot of people who say, yeah, I'm interested in visiting, so I plan on visiting there, but they don't know if Tennessee's planning on visiting them back, because Tennessee's just starting to look into it. And from Tennessee's standpoint, or another school standpoint, maybe the price is too high. Maybe there's a red flag of some sort there. Maybe that, they just have somebody who's just checking everybody out to see kind of what the deal is, and it never develops into anything once a coach evaluates it. The back room guy who's looking at portal tape evaluates that guy, and he takes it to a coach, and he calls the kid because he doesn't want to take the tape to the coach until he knows the kid might have some interest. They take it to the coach, and the coach says, nah, I don't like him. I don't like this about him. We're not going to go that direction. Well, then they never really had any interest, but the kid's already put a graphic out because Tennessee's reached out to his people to see if he might have interest. That's where we're at with all that stuff right now. So it really doesn't count, to answer your question, in my opinion, until they get to campus for a visit.
Right.
Then
Totally.
It gets real. Up until they visit campus, it's just speculation. The same way, if it's in a job search, until somebody interviews that guy, it's just speculation that they're a candidate for the job. And it's, there's some similarities there.
With that being said, Hubbs, I don't ever want to play rumor mill with certain stuff, though, too. But considering, you know me, I'm tabloid center over here.
TMZ.
yeah, TMZ over here, RMZ. With that being said, though, considering what Miami paid for Carson Beck, allegedly, did they somewhat tamper a little bit with Nico and at least ask questions?
Oh, I mean, tampering's that's the worst word. I mean, that's the biggest waste of time. Yeah. We should quit talking about tampering. I mean, there's no one, you're not proving it, and B, everybody knows it's happening.
Yeah.
So how are you going to stop it? Okay, so let's say Miami calls a 7-on-7 coach or an assistant off-season trainer that has no affiliation with the school for that particular player. And is that tampering? Yeah, it is. Is everybody doing it? Yeah, everybody is, I mean, Carson Beck's girlfriend goes to Miami. You think somebody in the football staff went to her and said, hey, would your boyfriend have any interest in coming here? Is that tampering?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it works. And so it's funny, everybody talks about tampering. There's no way to enforce it. There's no way to catch it. Because unless somebody's got proof that the offensive coordinator called the quarterback to see if they're interested, and that's just not happening.
Yeah.
It's the collectives, the third parties, all having discussions to say, hey, if he went in the portal, would you have interest? Not only would you have interest, where are you from a financial standpoint if he goes in the portal? If he goes in why do we think somebody goes in the portal and puts a do not require tag on it?
Yeah.
Because they know where they're going. Well, why do they know where they're going? Is it because it was their childhood dream school? Probably not. It's probably because their agents worked out a deal with the third-party collective to go there and don't bother me because I know where I'm going. And that happens a lot. And that's tampering, but there's no – by the law, by the rule, that's tampering, but there's no violation of tampering. Tampering happens everywhere. We should quit talking about tampering.
Wild
That was
West.
actually interesting.
Brent Hubbs of VolQuest On 3, the best person to sift through all of it with us Fridays here at the show. Brent, appreciate you as always, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely. Y'all have a great weekend.
Thanks,
Yes, sir. You
Brent.
too. Brent Hubbs of VolQuest. Not as hype as Ramon for GLO in the SNL coming up this upcoming
You'll have
weekend.
to send him a clip.
Coming up next, what is the
know if
one
you wanna see
thing
him.
you would change in college football? If you could pick one thing next season, change it unilaterally. Well, what would that be? We'll talk about that next. Friday morning continues at RKW 104.5 The Zone. Up in a half hour, Ron Slay stops by an hour early this morning. Going to have a big discussion on how the Titans could emulate the Packers, and there's a big reason why. We're going to tell you coming up in 15 minutes. Streaming live at 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, and on all podcast platforms as well. So, transfer portal, tampering, we just got into all of it with Brent Hubbs a few minutes ago. If there's one change you could make to college football going into next season, anything you want to do, what would it be?
It would be the 2-year commitment. I'm okay with just signing NIL, getting paid. Heck, I would say make that a part of the deal also. All right, you get to come here, baseline, especially with this revenue sharing potentially coming up at some point too, $50,000 per kid, however you want to do it. But I need 2 years from you at this point, especially on the coaching side and also from a fan side. Like, I'm always go back to the kid, Williams Nowari, out of the Missouri area that ended up committing to Missouri.
Yep.
Biggest thing that could have happened to their program in Drinkwitz. Immediately a year, he's gone to Nebraska right now. I like that side of it. As I'm 39. But, like, I got an old school mentality as it pertains to, like, football. Like, I'm also a part of, like, I enjoy the portal of NIL. But I do think it's somewhat unfair that I can't even coach you up after, like, 1 year.
Also
2 years,
also
2 year minimum.
For the fans to just, I mean, fans are paying all this money to go support their teams and watch their teams and be proud of their teams. And, like, I support everybody who transfers out of Washington State, but, man, it's getting hard when no one's staying, right? It's so just a little commitment. I'm with you, Moan. My whole thing comes to the postseason and the college football playoff. Look, right now, the 4th highest ranked conference champions receive the top 4 seeds and a first round bye. Yeah. I'd like to see that change. I don't really think this past year, seeing Boise State, seeing some of these teams and how, the outcome of the whole game was really paid off. It just didn't make for great football early on. So I think that's what I would change.
100% the right answer. It's that, right? It is the fact that if you are going to give an automatic bid to champions of lesser conferences, that team should not get a water slide to the semifinal or to the really quarterfinal. Heather Dinich wrote about this at ESPN.com yesterday, and it is something the committee is looking at. And if any change is going to happen in college football next year, it's this one. It would be taking away the first round buys for the top 4 highest ranked conference champions. The problem with that is they've got to vote unanimously to change that for next season, and rarely does anything happen in college football unanimously. Heather Dinich writes about this, says, every conference and Notre Dame must unanimously agree to it, leaving serious doubt, she writes, among multiple sources with knowledge of the process that the 2025 playoff will look much different from what we've seen the past month. But the most likely adjustment is the seeding, though she says, quote, even that could be divisive.
It could be because, I mean, if I'm a coach that's won my conference and I'm a Power 4 at this point, like Arizona State probably think they deserved that. I mean, in the end, they did because of how they played. But it could be dicey is the way I'm looking at. And what good is winning my conference if, hey, I'm not going to get an automatic bid? If I'm not top 10, then what the heck am I doing? Like, it somewhat muddies the water. If I was a coach from one of those lesser divisions that needed the money to get to the second round of it, like, I'd be a little ticked off behind it. So I don't know if we'll see a unanimous vote on this one. And I can understand the coach that'd be highly ticked off by this move being made. But as far as fans, Kayla, you and Will brought that up. I mean, the viewership and quality of play is what matters in the end.
Yeah, and I think it is it's hard to make these changes with not a lot of time in front of you. And I know that they're probably going to already start talking about the expansion of the playoffs. So maybe, you see that happen when that happens. But I would like to see it sooner than later. But I feel like they drag their feet on a lot of things.
Oh, they always drag their feet. 100%. I said feet. Yeah, they're always going to drag their feet when it comes to making the right moves, right? I'm with you. Like, the top 4 teams probably should have got it. Yeah. As far as the bye goes, the seeding will be a little bit different. It'll really result to, well, make your division a little bit better. Play the right teams, win the right games in the end.
I think mine would have to go to non-Power 5 teams, and I would like to institute something called a lifer position. These schools would be able to maintain players after their eligibility had gone. So East Carolina, anybody that's a non-Power 5.
You want Chris Johnson forever?
It would not necessarily Chris Johnson, because he would have better opportunities in the NFL, right? These are guys who can't go to the NFL, can't go to the CFL, can't go anywhere else. You're not good enough to play for anyone else, so you can stay and play in college. So that way you can maybe have 5 of these on a team. So you get 2 on defense, maybe you have a lifer kicker. But that way, when these crappy players, they ain't good for nobody else, man. We need a slot so bad. Just have a 35-year-old slot out there toasting these kids. It's like, well, you've got to talk about, and it would be some old-ass name like them, Robert Crumpler or something, you know? He's a 43-year-old linebacker. But then who gives a crap if they're playing for these teams? They wasn't good enough to play for nobody else. They didn't get any interest in the portal. You know, so when you graduate somebody, there would have to be parameters in place. But when you graduate somebody, you would be able to institute them into your lifer program. And then eventually you would be like cutting bait. You would be telling the old Canes and Walkers to hit the bricks. Like, hey, man, you're 32. We don't need you anymore.
Okay.
We got a 26-year-old lifer.
So who you want basically is Julius Wood, the Titans safety from ECU, who got popped for PEDs this year.
See,
Rookie undrafted guy, practice squad. He could have been a Pirate.
Damn.
He could have been a Pirate for life. But I do think if those guys come in and play extremely well, you would garner a little bit of attention from other places. So, like, hypothetically, if they don't have eligibility, they can't go anywhere except for the Canadian Football League, the NFL. But if you had lifers, some of these teams that are like, we are getting devastated by the transfer portal, you would get to at least know for a fact that you got Robert Crumpler at inside linebacker, and you don't have to worry about the depth there as much. Well, he's old as hell, and he's probably going to get hurt. But I just think teams like that should be able to keep on some of these guys. Hold on to some of these guys, man. What's wrong with that?
I'm here.
I'm down with it. I'm trying to figure out who we'd bring back now. Now you've put that in my mind.
We got a comment in the chat from Tim that says Diego Pavia rule.
Yeah. All you have to do is just sue the NCAA. They'll let you keep playing.
I would bring back linebacker. Hey, if y'all want to see a cold dude, he was 5'11", like 235. Zeke Bigger. He was bad as hell, man. He was so good. He was like on the Panthers practice squad for like a half a week when they needed somebody to change people's athletic tape out. Somebody to bring something out to the field. Bring Zeke Bigger back. He's like 29 years old. He could be linebacker for ECU for the next 20 years till he's 50.
I mean,
I'm loving it.
Let's not act like it hadn't happened. Like, who's the Florida State quarterback that was almost 28 years old in college, too, that helped win the Natty? Golly, what was his name? Florida State quarterback, old guy. He played baseball.
God, I love it. Definition. I don't know who you're talking about.
28-year-old Florida State quarterback?
State.
Are you sure it was Florida State?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Not Chris Winkie. He wasn't that old.
We'll get it.
Coming up
why
next.
Are you behind?
Second half of the show while the research department named Robert
Winkie.
Walsh
It
works
was
on
Chris
that.
Chris Winkie, yeah.
Chris Winkie.
He
Chris
was
Winkie.
25 when he joined Florida State.
Former Tennessee quarterbacks coach under Jeremy Pruitt.
28.
Legend. Coming up, there is a reason why the Titans might be emulating the Packers' way. One quote yesterday gives an indication that there is a front runner for the Titans GM job. We'll talk about that next.
What's going on? 801. Good morning. Happy Friday from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans completed an in-person interview on yesterday with Buccaneers Assistant General Manager John Spytek and Packers Vice President of Player Personnel John Eric Sullivan for the team's general manager position. Those were the final planned second interviews, so the Titans could technically have a new general manager by the weekend. Injury update heading into divisional playoff games. Texas running back Joe Mixon and linebacker Azeez Al-Shire were listed as questionable for Saturday's playoff game at Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, and DJ Humphries all off the injury report and ready to go. Wide receiver Mecole Hardman, who remains on injured reserve, is doubtful. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show and hour number 3 getting started, kicking off your Friday morning. You have almost made it. Got a couple more hours left. Maybe you're like us, you're off at a couple more hours. Congratulations. If so, then you are really in the home stretch. Hours 19 and 20 of another week here on the show happening right now. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, Robert Walsh is our producer. Coming up in 15 minutes, Ron Slay of 3HL and SEC Network talks life, talks Vols, football, basketball, and everything in between. An hour early with us this morning. It's still to come at 9:20. I think an interesting discussion you will want to dive into about how the Titans are about to try to become the Packers, we think, which leads us to our next headline of the day. This from Eric Edholm, NFL writer, covering the Green Bay Packers, covering the league, saying yesterday as Brian Gutekunst, the GM of the Packers, talked to the media, was asked about John Eric Sullivan, VP, Packers, interviewed here yesterday, said he'll be missed. Talked about him being up for opportunities, mentioned there's no better guy for the job, all these things. Is it fair to say that John Eric Sullivan is the clear front runner for the Titans general manager position?
Easily. I hate that we already know the answers already to it, right? Mm-hmm. You got the Green Bay connection. You got how seamless it would be for him to just assume a role that's higher than the one he's in right now. And it fits the billing of what it seems like the front office. I don't want to just put it on Chad Brinker or anybody else, but like what the front office is wanting out of a guy that's going to be in this role. Football, hey, play your underboss role and help facilitate. This is what it seemed like this position is going to be.
I think, we talk about how important relationships are in this business, and a lot of it is about that. Who do you work with the best? Who do you have familiarity with, especially when it comes to these high-profile positions? Because there are a lot of times that, there's going to be disagreements, but at least, I guess, if you have a base philosophy of how you've kind of grown up in how you run things, you at least have that to come back to. And I think that's what you're looking at with a situation like John Eric Sullivan, because he spent, a long time in the Packers organization, was there since 2003. We know that Chad Brinker was there for 12 years as well. Oh. So the relationship is where I'll start with why I think this is a given. But I also think he has the background of being a scout. And that's one of the things we heard, they want that person to have that background as well. So that's, for me, it is going in that direction.
Yeah, it is. It's and the other side of it is, too, when you're in these positions that Chad is in, like, you got to have some people that understand how you work, too. He's in a power position, big power position right now for a team that needs a whole lot of help. And I can't wait to get to this conversation about what are the Green Bay Packers, their standards, and how they've operated moving forward. And it should be – I'm looking forward to this one, Will. That was a great one you pulled out of a hat, too, yesterday.
Are the Packers the right organization to emulate?
Are they the right one?
I think they're one of them, absolutely. You talk about stable franchises. they're mentioned in the same, context as the Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right now, Kansas City is starting to prove they're one of those franchises as well. It's the stability part, right? And so I think Green Bay, while they haven't won a boatload of Super Bowls lately, they have been able to be a winning team and get to the playoffs. Now, that's another thing that Titans fans have to have some patience with, because just because you start to go in a direction where you build in a different way doesn't mean you're going to get to the Super Bowl next year, right?
Yeah,
there's going to have to be a way of building that tradition and that, stability of how you're going to emulate a program like that, or a franchise, I should say.
I think that's been one of the bigger problems, though, since I've been covering it. So I ain't going to say bigger problems, but just of the mindset that, like, it's going to be all peaches and cream in year one. Hey, this is going to be the quickest fix that we absolutely need. I think in recent Titans history, the run that you had with AJ and Derek and Tannehill, you can't omit him from this either. Like, that has become so much the standard that this fan base is expecting, that, like, moves have been made, firings have happened because of like that run to get it back. And I'm with you, Kayla. Like, this is going to be I keep saying, like, we're digging dirt. We're pouring concrete. Like, you're
just
in the
like
same.
the stadium,
I was
right?
just about to correlate it to. You're in the same phase as the stadium is. It's going to take time, and that's where I think, to me, the Green Bay standard operation practices that they have to be incorporated here, because it's as much back and forth that they've had, and just change over the last few years. You'll forever be that if you don't get to a point where you say stop. We got to stop. I'll go ahead and just lead what my headline going into it, because I'm anxious about this conversation, is it's about time to just put football first. That's where I am. All the moves that Green Bay has made hasn't been how the fans feel.
Yeah.
Right.
It hasn't been
Flashy necessarily.
Flashy. It's about
that's true.
Screw your feelings. We are here to do football. That's the way. I mean, think about the people I was looking at Reggie White. When he got Reggie White, why? Because Green Bay needed a guy like him. Free agency opened up for him to go to Green Bay. All right, Aaron Rodgers. Oh, who was this quarterback from Southern Mississippi? They didn't care. They don't care about what you think good football is. They're going to go find their guy, and in the meantime, because I know you will speak about it too, they're going to get another dude to replace the other one.
Yeah.
Like Bakhtiari has not played for them. Have they had left tackle issues? No. They get guys that are football players, and they say, screw what you feel as a fan, and we're going to do our thing. And that's how they've sustained for so long.
The left tackle this year is a 7th-round pick.
That's wild.
Come on. And I don't know if he's been perfect this year, but I don't think he's had the issues that the right tackle here has had. Nope. Or the right tackle in Kansas City has had. Like, they find their types of guys. And I'll say this, the perception of them to be able to do that is what you want here in Nashville. Sure. Even going a step further, Clay Matthews, right? They got a guy in place that has been a stud for them, and they let him go, and they go find other outside rushers.
Right.
You guys want a fun fact?
Yes.
What was one of the biggest determining factors in hiring this new general manager for Chad Brinker? They had to be a football guy, right?
Okay.
So Sullivan's wife, Jennifer, is the daughter of Coach Pete Honer, who has been coaching college in the NFL since the 70s.
Whoa.
So his wife also understands the coaching, the football life. So this guy,
girl.
his whole life has been surrounded, not just away from home, but at home is also a football family. So, but I do have a problem with John Eric. I need you to figure out which one you want, because I refuse to call another man two names. It is either John Sullivan or it is Eric Sullivan. It is not John Eric. And I brought this up to Buck, and Buck was like, "What's wrong with John Eric?" I was like, "No, you're saying it like it's one name.
Yeah.
It's not John Eric. He needs a generic name.
Yes.
He needs to pick John or Eric. One of the two. I've tried to find any significance as to why he would carry both names. Can't do it. That would be my, and people might say, no, I know, what was that? It might not be the best question.
What just happened
It
there?
might not be the best question, but I want to know where these two names came from. Were your parents like playing rock, paper, scissors in the hospital? It's like, I get John, you get Eric, and they just kept throwing scissors? Like, what's going on here? How did we get two names? This is a Ricky Bobby situation, and I need it alleviated.
I'm with you there.
You're asking the important questions.
Yes,
That
you
is.
are.
His dad, also a longtime NFL and college coach, Jerry Sullivan, who retired in 2021 after more than 40 years of coaching.
So
It's in the blood.
So wife basically telling him, don't come home till you find the
Yeah.
next guy. Like, that's
I mean, if
everything
your
about
wife's
him.
on board, then we know you're cool to be a football guy 100% of the time.
Have you
Served
guys-
as go ahead.
Sorry, have you guys heard about his brother?
No.
No.
Sully Sullivan. He was a great rusher at Monsters University.
I took
thought
you
he
so
was gonna be
serious.
serious.
Y'all were ready.
I took you so serious right there, Robert. No, don't hit me with the generic laugh back there either.
College scout covering the Central Plains from 08 to 2011 and then the Southeast from 2012 to 2015. Was the director of college scouting for the Packers in 2016 and 2017. 4 years as the team's co-director of player personnel, then upgraded to his current position of vice president of player personnel. This is an organization that does, whether or not they're successful or not, is a different conversation. Tons of teams try to beat the Packers. Or at least go get guys from the Packers. Think about John Dorsey. Think about Reggie McKenzie. Talk about Elliott Wolf, who is over at New England now with Mike Vrabel coming out of that organization. Son of Pro Football Hall of Famer Ron Wolf, who wrote a book in 1998 titled The Packers Way that I was diving into last night for the conversation we're going to have in an hour. I think the Packers Way is fascinating. And I think it's going to require a lot of patience from ownership and from everyone in that building. Patience, I hope they have. Coming up next, Ron Slay of 3HL and SEC Network will join us. A little bit of Vols hoops, some SEC basketball. He was in the jungle earlier this week as Auburn got a big win, got an up-close and personal look at the number one team in college basketball. You're welcome, Don Davenport, if you're listening. We'll talk about it all, plus, of course, lots more with Ron Slay next. Hey, it's Will Bowling. I want to update you with some exciting news from my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center. Their team of doctors of audiology are always committed to providing patients with the most recent hearing device technology, including the Phonak Sphere, which is dedicated to helping patients hear well in situations when there's background noise. There's a computer chip in this thing that is dedicated to addressing speech in noise. It helps you hear when you're out to dinner at a noisy restaurant, you're with friends or clients at a party, or even while you're at sporting events. Give them a call, 615-377-0420, and schedule your demonstration of this industry-changing hearing aid technology. It also connects directly to your smartphone and your television as well. Their website is great, online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. The phone number is 615-377-0420. Brentwood Hearing Center wants to introduce you to all of the sounds that you've been missing. Online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. That's Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing, better life. An hour early, the sleigh ride has hit the station. RKW 104.5 The Zone continues here at hour number 3 on a Friday morning. And Ron Slay is in the building. What's up? How are you?
I probably ain't going to speak to Bert to raise that. You got to turn that down because it's that jam. Thank you, Bert.
He just turns it.
Yeah, man.
No getting softer.
Hey,
just
man.
cut it.
I said, ooh.
You get more out
Face
of Bert
mob, man.
quick responses than we do. We got to figure out what you did to Bert.
I mean, Bert have a connection. You know what I'm saying? This
A privilege.
Yeah, man. It's like this is different with me and him. It's like soulmates, but it ain't really at the soul.
Yeah.
It's more at the core. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of weird. You know what I mean? Like, don't even try to figure it out. That's what I'm really saying. Like, just understand what it is, and it is what it is. Yeah.
So you guys just share, you share shoes. You're soulmates.
There we go.
In a sense, but you know what I mean? Mine a little bigger than his, a little smaller. You know what I mean? We sell
You
hair.
still walk around with yours, though?
Mine, yeah. See, I had to go to PAI Medical. He didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's
I offered
all
you
right
some of
though.
my hair, though.
Yeah,
I
you
offered you
did.
some
You
of my
did.
hair.
You
That
did.
would be
The hair off
You
my
did.
back, man. I'd give it to you,
That would
Slade.
be something.
I preferred the chest hair. I'm more of a chest hair type of guy. You know what I'm saying? You look at
I was
the back
wondering,
guy, you know
I was
what I'm
wondering how
saying?
you going to flip that right there.
Yeah.
More of a chest hair
What
guy.
up, though, man? What's happening, good people?
So, Slay, I know you were on with the Sports Animal and our good friends Josh Ward and Jason Swain earlier this week.
Yes.
And a week after Rick Barnes told Chaz Lanier, I'm going to sit you unless you do what you're paid to do and shoot it.
Yeah.
You talked with them, and you made a great point that even if Chaz Lanier misses, ending with a shot is better than ending in a shot clock violation, a turnover, a bad shot from someone else, a Felix Okpara, no disrespect, I say disrespectfully, trying to sky hook and do something that's not his
Anything
game.
outside of 2 feet for Felix.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
At this point.
So I think it's interesting talking about Tennessee basketball right now. Chaz Lanier is in a slump, but him missing shots is much, much better than him not taking shots. And we saw that in the second half specifically against a good Georgia team that has a good front line, that's great defensively, that's almost a worse version of Florida, maybe, if that's a fair comparison,
ain't bad.
earlier this week.
Yeah, man. And to expound on that a little bit more, you look at what Chaz is doing, and that slump is real. So everybody goes through these things. Freshmen, sophomores, whatever it is, All-Americans, it doesn't matter. You have a stretch during the season where you just can't get it going. But the thing is, how quick do you come out of it? But you have to do that as a shooter to continue to keep shooting. So if Chaz is taking a shot and it's a bad shot to some, well, how many eyes are on him when he's taking that bad shot? You have guys like Milicic, who's I mean, when you talk about embodying, after his conversation with Coach Barnes 2 weeks ago, to go to the boards, like this man, if y'all can just take your eyes away from the ball every now and then and just watch him away from it.
Yeah.
Like when the ball's going in, he's still going to the boards. Like I'm being from a dead sprint from the 3-point line. Yeah. That's tough to do, man. That takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and a lot of focus. So salute to him. But Felix Okpara, the same thing. If Chaz takes a shot on 2 people and they're out there contesting, you now are playing 4-on-3. You know what I'm saying? Like like this is what we want. You want to create advantages in basketball. It's all about angles. It's about creating advantages. It's about taking the opportunities that are given. If Chaz stops shooting and starts pump faking, that guy goes back, or he's not even a threat. Everybody's like, okay, he's in the slump. He's not going to shoot. Don't even close out hard. Just, you know what I mean? Let him figure it out right now. You're putting yourself in a bad spot. Now, Igor can't go to the basket to the rebounds. Felix can't go to the rebounds like that. And you're taking something from those guys' games that they bring to it. The tip-back dunks, the second opportunities that guys are getting on tip-outs, Mayshak being able to crash because he's not shooting well, but he did last game, finally. But those are the things that you take away if you're not aggressive. And I think that's more so what Coach Barnes was saying. Like, not necessarily shooting, but, man, be aggressive.
Right.
Offensively to be able to get people. You got to have those eyes. One thing about DK, which was great for him, is once he crossed half court, everybody's attention. Even if I'm in the far corner and he's at half court, I'm looking at him and kind of forgetting about my man, which adds other action, a flare screen, a back cut, a lob to get these dunks. But you're not going to get that if you're not going to be aggressive. You know what I mean? If it's just 6 seconds on the shot clock, then all of a sudden you're trying to get busy. So it's that was good by Coach Barnes. The funny thing is, like I told Swain and them, we've been telling Chaz this all his life. Like, this is the thing that has always not stunted his growth, but where you gotta, like, man, turn the key in his back. Like, hey, dog, dude, you can score. You had 20 in the first half. What are you doing? Like, it's okay to be over. I don't need Will to score 10. I want you to score 26. Let Will score 4. And we go. I promise it's the same thing. You know? No, but imagine how easy them 4 are going to get because the other 2 threes that he just hit. You know what I'm saying?
It's interesting. We asked the one conversation I had with Coach Barnes. I did that game a few weeks ago. Steve Hamer asked him in shoot around, does Chaz have the same will to score that Dalton had? And Coach Barnes looked at him and goes, if Dalton had 25 in the first half against Baylor, he would have scored 50.
Yeah, it's no question.
Chaz kind of became a cardio king in the second half against Baylor after he had 25 at halftime. And again, it's no disrespect, right? I think that is more a compliment to who Dalton was. And again, you can do the box score scouting, and there's a place for that, right? Through this amount of games, very similar starts. They're very similar numbers-wise. They are getting to those numbers in very, very different ways. Very different ways.
What I tell you at the beginning of the season, dog, I'm telling you, it's not going to be the same the way it looks, but impact-wise, it can be the exact same.
You've been saying that for months.
It's 2 different personalities, man. Dalton came from a JUCO background. To make it out of JUCO, I don't know if any. Listen, man, I'm gonna tell y'all what. If y'all ever want to see real life savages, just go to a JUCO school. Yeah, real life. I mean, and go there for about 2 days.
And especially in basketball.
Especially basketball. Absolutely.
A JUCO in basketball, go there for 2 days. 2 days. That's all I'm asking you to do. Don't even go to a game. Just go to the practices and watch how they live off the court. You're going to be like, whoa.
That last chance you at, what was it, East LA?
Oh, he's a huge advocate over it. I ain't even watching it, but he was telling me about it all the time.
It's actually
better than football.
I know it.
Better than football.
It's serious, dog.
He was dogging them out. Like, boy, not only just that, like, I think one of them had to go work at, like, Popeyes. Like, hey, sleeping in the car. Like, it was animal style.
You make it out of JUCO, dog, to make it to that point, and then all of a sudden, like, Dalton is a guy that's walking around, man. You probably got a little button on his hip that he pressed where the ski mask comes over automatically. That's the mentality he walks out there on the court with. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Chaz is more of a, he's the bank teller. You know what I mean? Hey, what can I do for you? Oh, yeah, I got a lot of money back here. What you need? Okay, let me get it to you. Dalton, that ain't him. He's on the opposite end coming in with the ski mask. You feel what I'm saying? He don't care. He's relentless. So, but you still get efficiency. You still get great scoring. You still get the impact. It's just different. That's why you need. It's great it came in this order. Dalton first, and then Chaz, because now you everybody else is able to be great.
Yeah.
Zakai can't have this type of year if he hadn't played with Dalton already and understood what it is. Meshack don't understand. Gainey the same thing. Like, being able to play with Dalton was huge. So now this is what a scorer does. Okay, coach is asking him to shoot a lot. Okay, where do I find my rhythm at? Now you in your rhythm. Gainey, go out there at 19.
Crazy.
I don't know if he could have had that last year with Dalton, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And picked his spots to shoot. So it's different, man.
Is Zakai Ziegler, I heard your conversation on 3HL yesterday. I really enjoyed it. Just with, you're talking about soulmates with Bert. I feel like Rick Barnes and Zakai Ziegler are soulmates. And that's so rare to have a guy that's been here, been through a lot, and is really a core piece to this Tennessee team. I mean, how important is he just to the success overall and that relationship?
Huge. And if you know Coach Barnes and follow his history, I think is even crazier to watch, because the most difficult person to deal with when it comes to a Coach Barnes system is, to absorb what he's saying, is a point guard. Because his delivery to him, as much as we hear how hard he is on Chaz and Dalton and all these people and the big men and all, it's times 6.
It is.
With the point guard. Like, it's this dude. Like, you don't get a break, dog. Like, you
got his bone about that.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh my gosh.
It's crazy. And I almost attribute to a little bit Bones on fire. You know what I'm saying? As far as having a great season with his guys. But it almost probably pushed him out as a junior. Like, hell yeah, let me go pro, dog, because I ain't dealing with this, dog. It's got to be easier being a pro, you know what I'm saying?
He coaches that position differently than the other four, and it's not even close.
And he alluded to it a little bit in his post game. Was like, you know what I mean? Like, I look at the point guard like a quarterback. You are the key to both sides of the ball, like every single play. You're the only person that doesn't have a playoff. You know what I'm saying? And got to be in lockstep with me as a communicator to transferring whatever my message is to the players. And when I don't want to say nothing, you got to be able to know what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? Look at all the greats he had. TJ Ford, like that's a hell of a compliment for him to say that man is a security blanket.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like he done had some guards. He done had some players. For you to put you on that level, man, that's a hell of a testament when you came into the situation and you were a backup to Kennedy Chandler. You know what I mean? And here you are about to pass Johnny Darden soon with assists, and you just took over Santiago Vescovi and steals. He was there 6 years. You was there 3.5.
That's incredible.
I heard you bringing it up. You coming back if you Zakai?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the 5 and 5 rule, it is gaining steam apparently in the NCAA where guys could get a 5th year of eligibility now and for 5 seasons.
Dude, like that's absolutely. And I mean, imagine where Zakai would be. And I'm right there with him. Because you know what it's like for your season to get cut short with an ACL. Imagine where he would be statistically.
Oh my!
Jeez.
If he continued.
You already have the assist.
That team went to the Sweet 16, y'all.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Missing your catalyst. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. So, yeah, dog. I would definitely come back. I think where he's teetering with All-American status as well. I think the blueprint for it. Is a guy like Hunter Dickerson out there at Kansas. Like, go to the league you want to. Go get that little 2-way contract, whatever. Man, that man living.
Yeah.
That man balling.
Yeah.
In Kansas, he's been a highest paid NIL guy the last 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Kansas fits their whole system around him. Michigan was ready to do the same. So it's like, hell yeah, man. I'm never leaving. If I'm not a top 20 pick,
honestly, man,
y'all got to run me out of there, man. I'm talking about when a new foundation comes in and it's 2 years later and they see me still in my dorm sleep, knocking on the door like, what you doing here, dog? I'm just trying to hang out thinking they might change the rules or something.
The crazy thing about that is, I mean, Chas Lanier would almost be encouraged to go back too.
Man, what? Why
he's already in a 5th year, obviously,
man.
so he's kind of a different case. But
come on, man.
Like I think he's projected like the bottom of the first round right now.
Yeah, I mean, and then look at it, man. When you flip it and look at Auburn, Auburn brought back so much. They got one of the veteran teams, oldest teams in the league, and all of them can come back. Baker Mazar can come back. Cardwell can come back. Janai Broom can come back again.
Wow.
Like, it's crazy, dog. Like, this is we were just complaining, though, 4 or 5 years ago about how the league is so young, you know what I'm saying? Like, ain't no veteran guys coming in that's ready, and it's hurting the college game. You don't have the stars or anything. Last 2-3 years, we done had stars again.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's helping. I mean, it's wild, but kind of evening it out a little bit, yeah. So.
Has Dalton changed that narrative? I know, like, what is he averaging? Is he still in the teens? Like,
I think he might be hovering around 10, 9. He's been
I think he was 8 points per game last time I checked.
Yeah,
but the understanding of him, I mean, I throw ZD in there too, Edie in there too.
Yeah.
Like the NBA game has to that point become so young, and at some point they gotta start winning these ratings, like the TV back, and it might come from a more polished college player. So do you think like the Zach Edey and the Dalton Connect guys have, changed the narrative that you can be an older guy and still be productive?
It's going to be difficult. It's going to take either implementing a rule in the league to have it changed a little bit, or a superstar with the impact of a Wembanyama saying, I'm going to dominate in the 15-foot range.
Okay.
Now, that takes a little bit out of his game, but I think when you look at it and you got guys like Anthony Edwards shooting 12 threes a game, Brandon Miller shooting 13, 14 threes a game. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't got to go. Do we got to settle for the sidestep, step back move for 3 overhand contested air ball? Like, how many if we watch the game, how many air balls are we going to see? That's the crazy part. You know what I'm saying?
Make the chant real no more.
You know? So, I mean, and I think a little bit of it, man, is, Steph changed it, man. He changed the game, and he made everybody, when you jumped into analytics threes can get you back in it. You're never out of a game with threes. If you can get 30 threes up a game and you shoot 40%, you got a great opportunity to win it. So they're looking at it like, all right, cool, let's take this chance. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to take somebody to make a real impact inside for you to be able to switch and to say, oh, you can play like this and still dominate.
Right.
I just got to give him his moment. K. Phillips. 6th man of the year at this point, Savage. For me.
Tough.
Well, I'll say this. He get the Team Spirit Award for me.
There you go.
Because I think you got to give Gainey 6th man, okay?
Yeah, that'd be tough.
Looking at how the contributions just from those two.
Yeah.
Like when Chaz ain't on or Zakai's getting pushed around. Like I heard you mention it yesterday, like he's going to get blitzed by Vandy. Zakai is.
a lot of
like
guards.
having a taller Gainey or a guy that can just come in and play the paint if a par can't hit a layup. Like those two dudes got to be very valuable to Coach Barnes right now.
No question. They are, and that's what you need in this league. You got to have depth. It's a lot of times you're going to turn to your bench, and that bench got to come in and dig you out of holes. Or I was doing the South Carolina, Alabama, and Alabama came out in the second half, didn't run what Coach Oates wanted to, and he took a page out of Coach Ricky Bauer's playbook and did a whole line change.
Yeah.
In college. And didn't miss a beat.
Sure did.
And didn't miss a beat. Everybody, I'm looking at it like, well, you do got 2 McDonald's All-Americans on the court. A guy that transferred in from Auburn, that's an All-American. I'm like, that's a good move, Coach. Yeah. I know you just took your guys off that took you to the Final Four last year. And one dude that could be a freshman All-American in Phylon. But, dude, it's okay. So that depth is important when you look at Cade Phillips, when you look at Jordan Gainey. I think it also puts more emphasis on what D Stone can do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When he comes back and he's playing better and better. But that's also what made you look and be like, dang, Cam McCarr, God, Estrella went down. So you automatically shrink that depth when you look around and you talk about the Floridas, the Alabamas, the Auburns.
Yep.
That's the separator, the depth at your bench that you can turn to and say, no, we ain't going 7 deep. We're going 10 deep. It's different.
Yeah, Tennessee can't do a full line change because they'd have to put Grant Hurst out there.
Yeah.
Nine scholarship players.
And Grant Hurst might get it. He cold with that little floater, you know what I mean?
Trying to Cleveland, Tennessee.
He cold with that little floater. He good, boy. He good late game with that floater getting the crowd on their feet.
Looking ahead to tomorrow in Tennessee and Vanderbilt. I know Vandy 2-2 in the SEC. They got that big road win to start against LSU. Kind of stumbled a bit against Mississippi State in a game where there were high expectations for that Vanderbilt team, and rightly so. They'd earned it in what Mark Byington's built. I know the local kid who I've watched since he was a freshman in high school, Tyler Tanner, has done a great job, and I think only has 1 turnover the entire season. And it was like it was an iffy foul call on the road. It was kind of a bad push off call too. That what it was. Vandy's, Hogard, they got a lot of guards. Vanderbilt does, and will provide a different kind of challenge to Tennessee tomorrow.
Absolutely. So you need other guys to be able to handle the ball. Zakai, you got to be under control. You watch what Vanderbilt just did against South Carolina for them to be in that game. Was it South Carolina? No.
No.
Who was they?
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
26 turnovers.
Yeah, crazy.
The game's not supposed to be close.
They were just throwing it away.
Yeah, it's like,
Carolina
what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes the knock to Zakai, if you want to nitpick his game, is him over penetrating and them getting their hands in there and they're turning over and they getting out and running.
He'll try to split
anytime. Yeah. Because he's so low to the ground. But Vandy's getting out, man. You got Edwards, who's a walking bucket. You got to know where he is. Hogard is a little different, coming from that Michigan State background, but the physicality that he brings. Tyler Tanner is a guy that can get up in you coming off the bench. So they got length and everything. Yes, Savage, we locked in on sports right now. Ain't nobody got time for the petty games that you want to play, being an entertainer out here. Don't even worry about it. Don't worry about anything that he's doing, KK. But then you look at that's what I'm leery about them going into Vandy. You understand what the rivalry is going to be, and the pressure is going to be intense. And they're 2-2. And the main thing in SEC conference play this year is take care of home.
Yeah, right.
So regardless, go on the road, get beat by 70.
Yeah.
Come home, win by 1. Good.
Is that still Vols dominating Memorial?
Yeah, I think personally.
In terms of the crowd?
Me personally,
those fans aren't showing up.
And then I don't think the students
Vandy
are back
fans
in
aren't
yet,
showing
right?
up.
Dude, that's so disappointing.
The students have started to.
They started?
But the students are also, and I see it on Twitter all the time, the folks that have Vanderbilt season tickets for basketball, y'all got to do better.
Yeah, I'm with you on
the
that.
students are there, but there are a ton of empty seats at
Yeah.
Vanderbilt basketball games this
That
year.
didn't look good.
And you don't have the excuse anymore.
No.
Because every time we'd have this conversation, well, who wants to come watch
Right.
a team with how
Yeah.
bad Dre Stackhouse is?
This is an
You're
exciting
good now.
brand. This is
Show
an exciting
up.
brand of
You
basketball.
told us you weren't showing up because the team was so bad.
Yep.
You're not bad anymore. Show up to watch your team, man.
And that's
You're
a
absolutely
weird
right.
gym. Like,
Kinda
make
crazy.
it yours. Like, make it your own.
Because
Embrace
somebody
it.
else will if you don't. Like, and it's showing, especially in this matchup.
Absolutely.
Come Saturday, like you got to get McLaughlin down there who can get busy. Tyler Nickel on the outside. Like they got guys that can get the job done. And Coach Byington, I mean, that's what all the craze was. We're buying in. You know what I'm saying? So go support them. This is a good break. Like I honestly can watch Vanderbilt basketball if it's an off night and I ain't watching nothing.
Yeah.
I go back and watch film and be like, okay, this all right here. So y'all go check it out, man. I'm telling you.
Well, coming up tomorrow, the first 2 games of the SEC basketball slate tomorrow are going to be terrific. There is no appetizer. They are diving straight into the entree with the first 2 games. We'll get Ron Slay's thoughts on Alabama, Kentucky, and Auburn, Georgia tomorrow on ESPN, the SEC Network, coming up.
Did you know that up to 50% of the air you breathe in your home comes from your crawl space? Well, have you ever looked in your crawl space? I get it. Most of us don't even want to know what's in there, but moisture in your crawl space can create unhealthy issues that can make their way into the air you breathe every single day in your home. It's Ramon Fawson. This is where United Structural Systems can help. USS has been keeping homes dry and stable in Middle Tennessee since 1994, so you know they aren't going anywhere. Help control moisture and musty smells with mold treatment and crawl space encapsulation that comes with a USS guarantee. That's right. Encapsulation helps reduce high humidity in your crawl space. It also helps deter mold and mildew and protects your crawl space from pests and wood rot. Just think about that for a second. So turn your crawl space into a healthy space. Reach out to the people that I trust, man. You can go to their website at USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com or call them 615-488-7855.
RKW wrapping up hour number 3 this morning. Ron Slay here an hour earlier than usual. 615-737-1045. Back to your phone calls as we begin hour 4 coming up shortly. 2 games to start the SEC hoop slate tomorrow are going to be terrific.
Yes.
Alabama, Kentucky, 11 a.m. in Rupp Arena. Again, the big noon kickoff special for Kentucky.
Yeah.
A second time, just like they had against Florida.
To start the season.
To start the SEC campaign. And then Auburn at Georgia an hour later. Let's start in Rupp. Slay. Alabama, Kentucky, you've called an Alabama game already. Kentucky just putting up 90, 100, 85, 95, just keep scoring. What's the key in that matchup?
The key is, man, defend. and I mean everywhere.
All right, so Auburn, Georgia, let's move on.
And I mean, when you look at Kentucky, dog, they got so many different guys that can do it. You got Butler running the point, who's savvy and can. You would think for some reason watching them play, you like offensively he's not really there, but then you look up, he getting to a spot that 15-footer at the elbow, pulling up, knocking it down, just like he did for San Diego State to send them to the Final Four. So he has that experience. But then Oweh is a guy that transferred in from Oklahoma who wasn't necessarily expected to be that guy, who's turned into that guy in this system with Mark Pope. So Jackson Robinson finally came on when they went down to, who did they just play? I don't ran it all together, but he just went bananas.
Mississippi State.
He just went bananas down there, and it was like, whoa, where's this been? I thought that's what we were going to see out of Jackson Robinson coming into the season. But I guess it takes the time to develop. Kobe Brea is another guy. You got so many guys, and all this being done without Kirk Krissa. Like, it's when you get him back, that's that veteran staying force that you need to let guys play off the ball and understand his impact is going to be greater than just scoring. So Mark Pope has really got it going, and I say you got to defend him because he makes you, if this was football, man, defend every blade of grass because they're going to make you go east to west, sideline to sideline, all the way up from that half-court point. They are ready, cocked and loaded, ready to shoot. It's guaranteed. So you better know where they are offensively and continue to box out. But if Alabama, who just lost at home to Ole Miss.
Sure did.
Like, this is what I'm saying. You got to take care of home. But now that since they didn't, you got to go steal one.
Go get one.
You got to steal one. And this prime for if we talk about a top 10 matchup, you got to steal one. Like, this is, we talking about the number 4 team in the nation having to steal one. Like, that don't even make sense. But that's what the league is. So Alabama's primed for it, though. But it's gonna be good. Luckily, it's starting early in the morning.
Auburn and Georgia, as good as Georgia is defensively, going up against an Auburn team that doesn't have Jedi Broom right now, really the first time you circle a game and say, all right, this might be one that Auburn finally drops in conference play.
It's going to be interesting to watch. I thought they dominated early on in that matchup at home versus Mississippi State, Auburn that is, but the size and the length that Auburn had with Jedi Broom stepping out, it didn't pay off for Mississippi State because you still had a guy in Chaney Johnson who was out there 6'10", Caldwell's out there 6'11", still had size. In this situation with Georgia, Asa Newell and Surreal and even Godfrey when thrown in at the 4 is different. Asa Newell is a dog. Like, go get it. This ain't, and there's no knock to Cam Matthews from Mississippi State, but he's 6'7", 6'8", you know what I mean? Not necessarily looking to score, but physicality is his thing. So Asa Newell is 6'9", 6'10".
Crazy.
Looking to go get buckets every single time he touches the ball. So you better shift your mindset, and those block shots that you were getting may be a little different because guys fake and pump. These guys going up through your chest. Surreal will put you inside of the rim. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So it's going to be a good matchup interior-wise. And then they got the veterans outside. Blue Kane, got Silas Demery, Tyron Lawrence, who was at Vanderbilt, transferred in. So they got some guys out there, man. It's going to make it an interesting feat. But Auburn is good. They're better defensively with Broom off the floor. Even though he averages like 2 blocks a game, this lineup right here is the most dangerous lineup defensively for Auburn. take room out of there. You know what I'm saying?
When speaking of that, so I see you have your SEC Network jacket on. You are a full representation of it. If I didn't know any better other day, I would have thought you were Auburn Tiger because you was in there just doing
Yeah,
your
you
thing.
were in the jungle, man.
Which is
I
your
had
job.
so many like snapshots on my phone that I was like trying to post because it's just every moment. Wait a second, I gotta get Ron on this shot.
Did the spirit just move you, or like is it that treacherous? Because the Vols got to go down there in a couple days.
They got to go down there next Saturday. It's gonna be on down there. But this is the thing, dog. The environment is so intimate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what you want college basketball to be. You know what I'm
Is
saying?
it built like that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's 9,100
Absolutely.
people.
9,100 people.
Tiny gym.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, and it's just basketball eccentric. Like, you look at it, you walk in, you feel basketball. Like, before Tennessee got good, you could walk into Thompson Bowling and be like, hey, this is a big old venue. This is what up. I wonder what kind of concerts they doing here. That ain't what you doing when you walk in there.
Well, you can see the curtains back
Yeah,
there.
you know what I mean? You come in- now it's different because you just blacked out. You know what I mean? They're good. They're going to pack the arena. But, man, back in the day, it was ugly to get people in there. At Auburn, a half crowd is still going to be nuts. You know what I'm saying? So if the students ain't in, it's still going to be crazy.
Yeah.
The same environment that Bruce Pearl helped change and cultivate up there in Knoxville.
I remember
He
that.
brought it there and just downsized it a little bit to fit Auburn, Alabama. You know what I'm saying?
Because I was in the old one when I covered Auburn.
yeah.
Oh my god!
Oh, I loved it.
It was. I'm sure
it
you
was so
loved
empty in there.
It was so empty.
And they were good. Like, they were really good, dude. They had three NBA guys on their team when we went down there to play. Man, I came out to warm up, man. You get an echo in the gym at all. And I was like, oh, yeah. We got this one, boy. I know what to do on this thing right here. I'm talking cash money. But, yeah, that environment, dog, like, that's why they don't let me out the studio that much.
I'm sure they're like, we can't control it.
Auburn fans have been asking for you.
Yeah, the part they did, Savage, when we got there, we was going through shoot around, they holler, we got some ears for you and a microphone. You want to walk around?
Kidding me? I was
Do
going to
I
say,
got legs?
did the spirit move you, or did a producer move you?
Hey, you tell me, you got a mic, a wireless mic, and some headphones so I can walk around. Do I want to walk around?
Did I still?
Fool, did I come in here in a wheelchair? Am I paraplegic? What am I going? Yeah, let's roll. Yeah, you talking about I'm all in. I said, I
You're in a
want
wheelchair,
to.
you
Get what I
will be
told them.
rolling.
I told them, man, I want to start crowd surfing.
Yeah.
I said, I
And
don't know if they
seen
get the
that.
282 up now. I lost 3 pounds.
Would you have
but
to sign in a voucher or
no,
something?
I'm in the jungle. It's wild here,
the
KK.
students would.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be
Yeah.
signing
They got a man
anything.
walking around with a coconut bra. I almost brought it back for Burt and said, man, I got a little souvenir for you from the jungle,
That'd be
baby.
great.
Yeah, man, no, it's crazy down there. Great atmosphere. It's like that around the SEC.
You
though, I'll
think
give it, man.
think before we go, like more teams should like chase the Auburn model as it pertains to basketball? Like unless you Kentucky, Kentucky, Kansas, North Carolina, like shrink Tennessee now.
I
Shrink it.
I think so.
Gonzaga has that, too. It's just teeny tiny.
Ole Miss did it.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Ole Miss did it with their school.
Okay.
It works for those places. Like Mississippi State renovating theirs to kind of
Shrink
make
it.
Yeah, just a little bit. But Knoxville, they're gonna pack it. You know what I'm saying? Arkansas, they're gonna pack it. Kentucky, they're gonna pack it. Missouri ain't been there. It looks like they always turn out when the students are in. So South Carolina, their new gym, like SEC, dog, these people are nuts. Like it's all sports.
Especially when you're good.
Yeah, you just got to get football over with. Like if y'all would stop hogging up stuff, the NFL, like people would trickle on in. But they still waiting like 2 more Saturdays to figure out what y'all gonna do. You know what I mean? So
Tennessee,
man.
it's a bigger arena, but you also got a lot of courtside seats that are
That's right.
making you a whole lot of money. And
That's right.
You've got a trio of Bobby Mays,
Yeah.
Tony Vitello, and Larry Pratt sitting
Yeah.
side by side and with a lot of money to get there.
And that's the other thing, man. You don't know with that Tennessee experience, with all the other sports being good, you don't know who you're gonna run into. So that's another part of let me come to the game.
I need my feet on the wood down there.
Wood's nice.
I'm trying to figure out where. I'm
good.
looking. Will what them tickets I can buy? Who
got
needs
some-
it?
I'll pass
Fridays
it.
You gonna pass it on?
here on
I'm
RKW.
trying to
You
put
get
these
them on your
14s
television
on.
sets at SEC Network, on your radio on 3HL. Slay, thank you, sir.
No doubt, baby.
Coming up, hour number 4, the Titans GM search continues. We'll hit the headlines for you to start your Friday morning. Coming up.
What's going on? 9:02. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans completed an in-person interview yesterday with Buccaneers Assistant General Manager John Spytek and Packers Vice President of Player Personnel John Eric Sullivan for the team's general manager position. Those were the final 2 second interviews planned, so the Titans could have a new general manager by this weekend. Some injury updates going into the divisional round. Texans running back Joe Mixon and linebacker Azeez Al-Shire are both listed as questionable for Saturday's playoff game at Kansas City. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, and DJ Humphries all off the injury report and good to go. Wide receiver Mecole Hardman, who remains on injured reserve, is doubtful. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW rolls into the fourth and final hour, your Friday morning. Wrap it up right here on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, Jackson Williams stepping in for Robert Walsh. 615-737-1045. A big discussion on how the Titans are trying to become the Packers. Coming up in 15 minutes. What is good about that? What gives you a little bit of pause about that? That discussion on the way, coming up in 15 minutes. Of course, the Titans did interview Bucs assistant GM John Spytek yesterday, as did John Eric Sullivan with the Titans, as Robert Walsh just told you. Elsewhere, other NFL news this morning, Josh McCown is interviewing for the New York Jets head coaching job. And later today, you will be requested to interview with the Jets as well.
Absolutely. Everybody under the sun. And they don't even have a GM yet either.
That's correct.
And you said there was only one interview so far for a general manager that is on record?
Oh, no, I did not say that.
Yesterday we were talking about how we hadn't heard of any others that would really...
Thomas Dimitroff interviewed. Yeah. The point was that he interviewed a month ago.
Right.
He was the first one.
Right.
Goodness. They're shaking every tree, it seems like, as far as the Jet goes. They can't get it wrong this time around. They got to find some level of stability.
I think they can get it wrong.
I mean, well, they have. Well, I mean, from their report, he just got to wait on his kids to finish simulating Madden. That's what we got to figure out what's next, right? But yeah, they got to. I think that article is very embarrassing to their front office management and stuff like that. So they're considered jokes right now. You don't want to be in that spot. Absolutely not. Don't want to be in that spot.
I'm seeing on First Take right now, apparently Lamar Jackson has told Josh Allen, "I'm not trying to be your friend. I'm trying to beat you." This just in, quarterback wants to win playoff game. So that's what they have going on First Take this morning. Elsewhere this morning, Tom Brady, according to his agent, will keep broadcasting. Crazy. A 10-year contract will continue next year. Sam Onson, our friend from 33rd Team, said he's got 30 million reasons to continue broadcasting.
Yeah, 10 years is a long time, though. I mean, for Brady now stepping in with a bigger, job in terms of the Raiders, balancing is what it's all about, right? And obviously he's able to do it when he was a quarterback and balancing other parts of his life. So maybe he'll be good to do that for 10 years, but it's a long time.
Yeah, I think his role, like how big of a role does he have with the Raiders? I think that's more of a secondary deal than anything else. Like, he's an ambassador more than he is like an operating owner on this one, the way I see it.
The more and more
you see it being more important.
Things coming out.
More reports are saying he has got a heavy influence on what they do next at GM and head coach.
Just because he's Tom Brady, like, they think he has the answers to the test. Like, I'll be the first one to tell you, like, every player that plays football probably isn't the smartest as it pertains to, like, decisions being made or being good coaches, too. Like, that, like, you got to show your worth in that business. So I think it's smart for him to continue his brand as a sports entertainer.
It is just interesting, though, too, that he's not really great at this.
You don't think so?
No.
I didn't really pay attention to him.
It's the owner part of it that makes it a challenge, because he can't say anything we don't already know. That is the number one goal of a play-by-play broadcaster, color commentator, and sideline reporter. Can you tell me something I didn't already know and provide context that is beyond just the surface level. Like, you've got Greg Olson doing games with Joe Davis, consistently breaking down, like here's what the analytics would tell you, and here's what I would do if I'm a head coach. Or he's breaking down defenses and is getting in the weeds, but he does so in a way that makes sense. That's really difficult to do. Tom Brady just tells you things that you're watching. Oh, it's a really good throw there. Man, he puts it right on target. And it's 6 points here for the Lions. Like, what? He has not met my expectations of how good I thought he'd be, and I do think the Raiders' ownership part of it has really handcuffed him.
It should have been Olsen's job anyway, though, shouldn't it?
And I think, he should have been able to keep the number one spot, but it's Tom Brady. I think also, I'm with you, Will. It's not my favorite. I think Greg Olson was much better at it, and it came more natural to him. And that's the thing. We spoke about this when Tom got that job. We thought he would be a little bit tailored, right, the way that he is sometimes, and I just don't know if they told them to just this first year be a little bit careful in certain things, or maybe next year he'll let it loose a little more. I don't see that happening, though. I see further down the line he gets more involved in ownership.
But this got to be 10 years from now at this point, though.
I don't think there's any way he finishes that 10-year contract.
You know how contracts are, Moan.
I really don't. I think he finds a way out. Well, I'd give him and put the over-under at 3.5 years that Tom Brady broadcasts NFL games for Fox.
This is where that public criticism of him also plays a part, too. Like, how can Tom handle this and something that he can't control? Like, if he's just not good at it, then, they're going to push you out. Because what I've learned is people who are traditionalists when it comes down to that job can't wait to knock an athlete down when it comes to, like, oh, you're supposed to be this good. Like, Tom is – they sold the person and player, not the actual talent on this situation right here. And especially if he doesn't want to show any signs of getting better at the job, too. Like, to your point, Will, like, to be in depth, like, to listen to an athlete speak about games, like, I think Tony Romo's gone too far. Like, I didn't used to irk me with Tony Romo because I ain't pay attention to it, but more and more folks started bringing up, well, Tony's just saying stuff. Like, it does come to that point with him now.
Justin on YouTube writes in, Tom Brady has been to 10 Super Bowls and won 7 of them. If he broke down what's going on, no one would understand. That's not true.
No.
I totally disagree with that. Greg Olson and Tony Romo, even to his faults, the excellent broadcasters at that level do a great job of taking 300-level knowledge and packaging it in a way that the general national audience can understand. They are really good at taking master's level content and making it 100 level and telling you why it matters in about a 25 to 30 second shot clock before the next play starts. Sure. Some people have that ability to take that knowledge and teach it. That's why, again, like Ramon said, not all players make great coaches for the exact same reason. It feels to me more like Tom Brady can show you physically what he is thinking, but struggles to convey that information in a 20 to 30 second snippet.
And look, it's his first time doing it. To give him some credit, I mean, just because, like you said, you're the greatest quarterback of all time doesn't mean you're going to go in a broadcast booth and know how to put it into those snippets. You're right, Will, because that comes with years and years of experience. I mean, you do play-by-play. I know, you've had years of experience doing that, and every year you're like, it's a little easier, right?
Yeah,
it's a little more natural. So
I don't want to be overly critical. And again, you guys hear me say on the show all the time, like, I don't like criticizing broadcasters in that role because none of us have ever pitched a perfect game.
No,
ever. I have never had a perfect broadcast. I never in my career will have a perfect broadcast. And it is a very, very challenging job. I think the issue is the ownership part of it. I just wonder how much of a limited ceiling now he has because of his other role that I think is becoming more and more prominent, more so than it was on day one when he became a part of it.
I can't believe they're leaning on him that much as far as the front office guy with the Raiders. I am a little shocked by that. Considering that's a family business too. You know what I'm saying, with the Davises and whatnot. And you feel like they would understand.
I'm curious how much of that is perception versus reality.
Yeah. That's a good point.
How much is the Brady name helping them get top candidates interested in the job? And how much of it is actually Tom Brady being on the ground floor of day-to-day and week-to-week operations of the Las Vegas Raiders?
I'll give him this much. Him understanding that he need better talent in New England towards the end, where they never really got him a wide receiver, to where he pretty much got himself out. Like, maybe the issues that he had in New England, to where he was able to go to Tampa Bay. Do we think he picked his guys?
In
Tampa. He's got at least some understanding of it. It's a matter of, all right, how do you handle the strikeouts?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if they're going to put him in that role, like, there's going to be some misses. We're like, hey, Tom said we should do this. And not everything is going to, align the way it did in Tampa.
And this is like kind of not a complete rebuild, but there's
It's
a
a
lot
rebuild.
of young pieces, right, that you need, including, by the way, a quarterback who he probably has a lot of say in.
I will say it's a complete rebuild with what they got going on. Absolutely it is.
Coming up next, John Eric Sullivan interviewed with the Titans yesterday. Vice president of in the football side of things for the Green Bay Packers. And with Chad Brinker in the president role here and the front runner of the job for the GM being a Packers guy, how are the Titans trying to emulate the quote-unquote Packers way? We'll discuss that next. RKW in hour 4 on your Friday morning. Titans yesterday interviewing Packers VP John Eric Sullivan. Brian Gutekunst, the general manager of the Packers, already talked to the media saying, we're going to miss him. Said he'll be missed. I think it is certainly assumed and implied that John Eric Sullivan is the front runner to be the next Tennessee Titans general manager. But guys, even if he's not the pick, the Titans want to emulate the Green Bay Packers model. Chad Brinker is the president of football operations. He tells Jim Wyatt, when this process begins, we want to draft, develop, retain. Last year when Elliott Wolf took over at the New England Patriots, he's essentially said the exact same thing. He said the Packer way, draft and develop, extend your core performers from within. So, guys, as we look at what the Titans can be if they want to be Green Bay South, what specifically does that look like for this organization? What are the good aspects of being Packers South that we can expect from this organization moving forward?
There will be templates to the type of players that you go after, and it won't change from year to year. It won't change from decade to decade. It will be finding gritty guys. It will be finding a quarterback every 2 to 3 years, just in case there's a pathway for you to get from underneath the guy. And there will be, in my opinion, the way they draft and looking at it, constant quality competition. Because despite how people will feel about Chad Brinker and how this all has unfolded, what you can say is this, though. You out, Dreeland?
Yeah, but Butch is in making a point.
That's what I'm saying. He called me while I'm working.
Ron Slay shaking hands.
He just wanted to say good busting.
Yeah, he did. Big bro right there. I was telling my wife the other day, Brian really treats me like a little brother. It's crazy. Like, a lot of stuff that he does, he treats me like a little brother, like that right there. But either way, what I was getting to was going to be this. Don't fall in love with a guy unless you know he's going to be there. And if they are good, it's okay to go buy the jersey because they will hold on to you tight and they will make it work however they possibly can. Well, I know you got more nuggets too, but like Kayla, you also. But this is, like I said, you probably want to remove like how you feel about Chad because if this does work, you're going to like him in the end because it's going to be a culture of winning.
If you're going to emulate this Packers model, and you do indeed hire John Eric Sullivan, first and foremost, you have to start with starting to have stability in the front office. That's where it starts. And that's what the Green Bay Packers have had for a long time. They continue to have that. And that's why everything else works. So you have to start with that. And the next model that I look at with the Green Bay Packers that, they're able to do is they obviously focus on drafting guys, but they also are patient with their young players. And they are giving a lot of these young players an opportunity to develop without having immediate pressure for results. And I think that's what we've seen in the past sometimes with this Titans team is immediate results are sometimes on the table because they're in need to win now. And I think if you do go with this model and you do hire him, you have to acknowledge as a fan too that this is going to be something where you're going to have patience because some of these players are going to have to develop over time. Yeah. And that includes the quarterback, guys, because if you've looked what Green Bay has done with their quarterback, it hasn't been just draft a quarterback and start them. It's been draft a quarterback or have a quarterback that's playing like Brett Favre, let's say. We know what he did. Don't have to go into it. They drafted Aaron Rodgers. Everyone's like, oh, gosh, what's going on with this? Well, Aaron Rodgers eventually became the guy, right? Wasn't the starter right away. There was all the controversy when they drafted Jordan Love in the first round. Why are they drafting Jordan Love? Who is Jordan Love? Well, then he sat for a couple years until he took over. I think that's so rare, and they've lucked out a little in that aspect, but that's part of the whole thing on development.
So it's interesting you look at the way they do business. Since 2000, the Packers have won 10-plus games 16 times, including this season when they had 11 wins and 6 losses. Over the last 16 seasons, they've had winning records in 12 of those seasons, including a Super Bowl in 2010. Sorry, Ramon. That's from 2009 to 2024. So I thought it was interesting. I found an excerpt of the book The Packer Way from Pro Football Hall of Famer Ron Wolf. who went into the Hall of Fame in 2015, really built this from scratch. It's Elliot Wolf's dad, the guy who's now in New England. And Ron Wolf was kind of the original executive who put together what the Packers way is in the 90s. He talks about in 1998 in this book, said in the months following the 1992 season, the Packers went 9-7, barely missed in the playoffs. He writes, "We probably could have rushed to cash in on our early success by signing a bunch of older, limited players in hopes we could challenge for the Central Division title. But that approach contradicts our organizational philosophy." Quote, Ron Wolf, Pro Football Hall of Famer with the Packers, says, "As we worked constantly to improve through our stepping stone theories, we weren't about to add too many Band-Aids to our roster. Instead, those spots needed to be filled by younger players who could develop into Packer stars. We would pursue a division title, but only by staying within the context of the structure we had established for roster development." So the positive in that is there is a plan, there is a teach tape for every position, and you have athletic scores, you have height and weight, you have intangibles, you have medical red flags that you care about, maybe some that you don't care about. You don't go outside of that within your organization. Someone has to be a Titan in this way versus being someone in free agency you try to turn into a Titan.
Yep.
Is the way I view that. The bad part about that is strap in tight. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not signing Band-Aids, if you're not going out to get somebody because you just got to spend the money, and you just got to throw somebody out there and spend a little bit of this cash in free agency, I would not expect this to just take a year or two. This sounds like a process that's going to be coming to fruition to make the Titans competent when new Nissan Stadium opens.
That was going to be my only pushback right there. What you just said, like in order for them to get it to, if you ask most Titans fans, possibly, would you model yourself after the Green Bay Packers? But 85% might say yeah, right? You probably have a few that say no. You'll have most say yes, because that means winning, stability, always on the mainstream TV for the most part, right? But here's the biggest issue: you're bad.
Yeah,
you're real bad right now. How long can you sustain watching paint dry, basically? Because if it's all through the draft, right, with everything that they're doing, then this fan base is sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like, you don't want to be the laughing stock. Well, and that was going to be my only pushback. Is like, can ownership, leadership, front office handle letting them set these tracks down?
And that's fair to ask because we haven't seen that in the last several
We have
years.
not
Because
seen that.
that's exactly what they have done is bring in Band-Aids, and we don't know whose ultimate choice that was. Win now, though, seemed to be what the narrative was. Like, win now, right? Whether it was Vrabel or last year, even with having a new head coach, it was like, we're going to be competitive now. I don't know if they can really say that if this model is going to be absorbed, because it is all patience. I mean, building around a core, that takes patience because you don't have the complete core here yet, right? I said the patience with developing. Drafting well. There's another thing. Like, how well can you continue to stack these drafts and get these core players in here? That's got to be something that you continue to hit on. And the only thing that might speed up the process, Moan and Will, is if you did get your quarterback this year and you hit on it. Let's say you got Shador, you got Cam Ward, and who knows what the chances that is. But if you did hit on it, that could speed up the process a little more. But there are no guarantees.
The more and more we go through this, Will got a nugget too. I don't see no pathway you get either one of these quarterbacks this year. My personal opinion.
I mean, I'm not in the front office, but they're.
What's the you have a fact over there about their roster construction?
Yes. So this past season, the Green Bay Packers, in their starting lineup, guys who started 2 or more games, I'm not counting guys that just made a spot start here, you pick up off the street, of drafted players, 3 players who started multiple games for the Packers last year were not drafted by the Packers. 3. Josh Jacobs. They supplemented a really good offense and a really good team with one guy who fit. He was a stud. Worked out. The other one also made 17 starts. Xavier McKinney. Giants safety, all-pro. First team all-pro this season for the first time in his career. Stud. one of the best defensive backs in football at any position. The other one was Malik Willis. Was the third player that started multiple games for the Packers this season, drafted by a different team, and he just made a couple spot starts because Jordan Love got hurt. For perspective, this season, the Titans had 14 players drafted by other teams start multiple games. 14 players. So if you're talking about getting to a position where you are emulating the Green Bay Packers, it is going to take 2 or 3 draft cycles to get to the point where you have 3, 4, maybe 5 guys who are starting multiple games for you who you drafted.
That makes me think then that you wouldn't sign a bridge quarterback or some guy that has, a ton of wear and tear on him, because you don't really do that. That's not really your model of bringing in somebody and starting them that's from another place.
Well, but the other side of it that we just talked about too is there's a teach tape and there is a profile for every position.
Yeah.
And if they don't feel like Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward fit into the prototype Titans QB, that they've told us, we're going to set parameters and we're not going to go outside those parameters, even if it hurts a little bit. If they don't feel like those two guys fit the profile of what a Titans quarterback looks like, then they're not going to do it.
And then the other part about that roster being constructed the way it is, too, and fitting, because Malik, they started Malik because he fits a profile that they like for the offense that they're running right now.
For Matt LaFleur, he's a perfect fit.
Case in point right there, right? So the reason I'm on paper, I'm on record now by saying I think Titans fans need to realize they might not get Cam or Shedeur for this reason. We'll just mention the roster. Only 3 guys are outsiders that started for the Green Bay Packers. Now, here's how they have done that, too. The Titans currently have 8 picks in this draft. Starting in 2024, last year, here's where this is how many picks the Green Bay Packers have had. Chad has said, I want as many picks as we can get.
He came on our show and said that.
Chad
as
Baker,
many as he. Last year, 13. The year before that, last year, 11. The year before that, 11. The year before that, 13. Then you had 9. Then you had 8. Then you had 9. And then you had 11 picks.
Yep.
So the way they did that, I went through and I put down every trade they made just for the 2023 draft alone. It's kind of crazy how they do this, the Packers. So they traded Aaron Rodgers, pick 15 and 170, for 13, 42, and 207, and then a conditional second-round pick if Aaron Rodgers played 65% of the snaps. Oops, he played, 3 snaps? So then they swapped pick 45, and they turned that into 50, 159, and 179 because they made 2 trades. So you talk about not getting hung up on one player, and I think that's a great point you make. If you're a fan and the Titans, as they promote Chad Brinker and they're, possibly going to bring in somebody else from the Packers way, you talk about not getting attached too much. Yeah. They, as an organization, also are not getting too attached to certain guys in the draft. And what I mean by that is they traded back twice in 2023 that year, and they ended up getting a significant amount of value out of it. If you fixate on one guy at pick 45 that you want, then you take that guy, but you're also giving up on the opportunity to have picks 50, 159, and 179.
I also think they're really defensively centric with a lot of the things they do early on in drafts, right? Like defensive line. I've seen a lot of secondary in the recent drafts, and you wonder too if you do somehow trade back, you stay and get Abdul Carter, right? And start to focus on that as well in terms of the fronts. Because we already know, they need another right tackle, right? But we also know they need work on the defensive line. It's just interesting if you go back and look at their picks. There's a lot of first-rounders spent on defensive players.
And the other side of that, too, I think they just spent a good bit of their draft picks in the trenches, too, when the trend is going that way. We spoke about Bakhtiari last 2-3 years. Heck, I feel like he's been. Is he gonna play? Is he not gonna play? And they finally moved on from him. Speak about roster retention, development of their team. Their 2 tackles this year, a 3rd round Deshaun Ryan, and a left tackle at a 7th round pick at pick 249, Rasheed Walker.
Yep, out of Penn State. Yeah.
Both of them started 17 games this year, if I'm not mistaken. I'm looking at Rasheed's right now. What did he end up doing?
His pass block grade was 80.1 from Pro Football Focus. Rasheed Walker, 7th round pick.
Pretty impressive.
So again, we talk about how we have low expectations, right? Day 3 picks and things like that. In order to build what the Packers are and what good organizations are, you have to find value
low
every now and then out of positions like that. You have to find a Ramon Foster. You lived it. You played 11 years in the league, and you were an undrafted player out of Tennessee. I'm sorry,
It's cheap.
Sometimes Jalen Duncans have to turn into starters. And guys like that who are 6th-round picks, 7th-round picks, like the Titans have not hit on enough of those guys. And that is one thing, to all his detriments, John Robinson at the beginning of his tenure as the Titans GM did a great job of. He found value on days 2 and 3 of the NFL draft.
So to that same point on like the mishaps of like the last administration, the mishaps of Rand, right? Like, or trying to figure out what you're going to do at will at that tackle spot, like the method as far as like getting the Rasheed Walker, right? Getting him and also Sean Ryan. Like you got to also have somewhat of a belief that you can get a lot out of him. And that's where Jalen Duncan comes into play. That's where John Njoku comes into play. That's where
Josh
Wiley comes into play. That's where Nicholas Petit-Frere, you're, what was it, 2nd, 3rd round? Like, we got to get something out of you because Green Bay has showed us, like, Sean Ryan has gotten, like, he's gotten 17 starts out of him. So, like, you got to believe in the guys that you're drafting. And that's where I feel like finding to that point, Will, Kayla, listeners, what is the model?
Well, that's why I said you have to start building stability in the front office. We've had 2 scout turnovers now. I don't know what's going to happen now that Rand's gone, if those scouts are going to turn over again, because they even kept leftovers from John Robinson's era, right?
Yeah.
And they switched that over. So now are you going to bring in others? Like, you all have to be on the same page. If you're going to go with a model like this, you have to be all in on all fronts of the front office.
Well, that's
because
why
everything else, like you said, evaluating talent, exactly what you want out or how you find those types of gems, they've all got to be aligned. And I just think they're still in the process of like trying to build stability in the front office.
So Will tweets at us, at Ramon Kayla Will, and says, you can't be like the Packers when you have an owner making emotional decisions and arranged marriages. Titans are more like the Panthers than the Packers. That is the one caveat to what makes Green Bay different from any NFL franchise and most other sports franchises. They're owned by the fans. Since 1923, the Green Bay Packers are publicly traded and owned, and fans, there is no threat of emotional decisions made by ownership because the ownership is the fans. And there's a board that works on behalf of the fans and the shareholders. The headline out of all of this, if you're going to be the Packers, you got to have patience and you can't have emotional ownership. That is the headline of all of this. You have to have an unprecedented level of patience in order to see Chad Brinker and maybe, I'd say probably, John Eric Sullivan's process all the way through to the end.
And here's the thing, too. I'll speak for myself. We're speaking as if it's John Eric Sullivan is going to be the guy. I think it's more than likely is. In a
He's
sense,
the front runner.
Yeah, he's the
even
front
if he's
runner.
not, it's Chad Brinker's show, and he's a Green Bay Packers guy.
And so, like, that's just where we are. Like, here's what you have to do then. Because he said he talked to Miss Amy, and she understands the plan. It's one of them situations, man, where you have to just be blunt with how you go about this. And it's like, shut up and dribble. Like, hey, shut up and just manage the team and let me do my thing. Like, not that disrespectfully, but like it has to be a point to where you say, do you trust me? Yep. Well, let me do my job. And I've seen it in the chat, Will. You said we're getting tweeted about it also. And there's been the ongoing conversation. Can front office let football field do their thing? Let the football field do their thing.
Yep.
That's the biggest issue.
That is the $1 million question
is.
and a multi-million dollar question that needs to be answered at this point. No doubt about it. Going to take time to be the Packers. But ultimately, it appears that that's the direction the Titans want to go.
CR brings it up. I thought Miss Amy understood that the last time.
That's what they said
Because
publicly.
that's what we've been hearing, collaboration, but that hasn't happened yet.
We were told that Rand Carthon was a football guy through and through last August. And now, they're putting it out there that he's not. So we'll see what changes this time next year. But for right now, this organization, like many others, is trying to be Packers South. And there is value in that. I mean, Kansas City did it. Like Scooby tweeted at us and said, like, why do we keep trying to imitate other teams? Why can't we just be the Titans way? Well, because the Titans way got you 3-14.
I was going to say, what is it?
Like,
what? I think that's the bigger question.
That's the big
Kansas City was the Packers way. And then they won so much that now we just know it as the Kansas City way. But that was Packers 2.0 as well. With the way they built things up when they drafted Patrick Mahomes behind Alex Smith and let him sit there for a minute. Like a lot of those people came from Green Bay who went to Kansas City. So you're not the only ones doing this. It's a copycat league. Everybody's copying something in sports. Whether it's us talking and us doing a lot of the same segments that Howard Stern and Dan Patrick have done, or if it's executives trying to do the same things other executives have done. It is a copycat world in the world of sports.
And just tweet at us. What is the current Titans weight in? If you're not trying to adopt a successful brand out of Green Bay or
Bad
Kansas
O-line
City
play.
or Baltimore, like you can name the good ones.
Really
I mean, we
one.
can even throw the Rams in this one at this point too. Like they figured it out somewhat to be sustainable.
Yeah. Coming up, final call for phone calls, 615-737-1045. Maybe we make some picks. Divisional weekend. Coming up next, right here at 1045 The Zone. Hey, it's Will Bowling here, my friends at Nolanville Road Automart. Hey, you've probably been looking for cars. You see the words, buy here, pay here. You're thinking, I don't know if that's a place I want to go. And I get it, right? A lot of those dealers, they come with a certain reputation. Well, I'm here to tell you there is one place you can go with as good a reputation as you're going to get here in Middle Tennessee. That's my friends at Nolanville Road Automart. They are local Nashville natives, and they've been in business for a long time, doing things the right way here in Middle Tennessee. They're different for a few simple reasons. They've been in business for 61 years. Nashville natives that only sell clean title cars under 12 grand. If you're new to town, you need a place to trust, they have got you. Maybe you're looking for that first vehicle. Your 15-year-old's becoming a 16-year-old. They can help you with that as well. And if you don't want to take my word for it, check out their Google reviews. Excellent as well, and that's saying something as well over there at Nolanville Road Automart. Just the one location close to Thompson Lane. They'll get you in and out in an hour or less. They pride themselves on how efficient the whole process is. Give them a call, 615-242-1279. That's 615-242-1279. Wrapping up the show at RKW 104.5 The Zone, and an update on the Titans' pursuit of Shedeur Sanders. 2 minutes ago, the Shrine Bowl putting out the coaching assignments, and it is official that Tennessee Titans assistant Peyton McCollum will be the quarterback's coach for the East-West Shrine Bowl West team. That includes Brady Cook, Max Brosmer, and Shedeur Sanders. So a Titans assistant QB coach, Peyton McCollum,
I
be
did not
coaching
know
Shedeur
much
Sanders.
about him this year.
No, I didn't know.
Like,
either.
honestly.
Yeah,
I don't know if you ran into him at all, but
I probably did, but I mean, there's so many people on staff. Sometimes
how do
you
they
just
pick
don't-
those?
Who's willing to work? It's basically what it boils
And
down
I think
to.
organizations who would, I mean, especially picking in number one, like for a while, it was if you had the number one overall pick, your coaching staff was like an all-star game coaching staff.
Yeah.
Sure. He was an assistant wide receivers coach this year, too, by the way.
Yeah.
So, and he's going to be assistant quarterbacks coach in that game.
This is probably one of those situations where guys are put in the programs where they can accelerate themselves into more of getting known too, putting them on field in a situation where they actually got a coach. And young guys like him, or I don't know, well, young in his career.
Yeah, it's
he's
only
put
his
in these
third
spots.
season in the
Younger guy.
NFL.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that's good. Good eyes on him. So self-scouting.
I like it. Interesting. Let the games begin. Scouting all these quarterbacks coming
By the
up
way,
in just a couple weeks.
Shout out to the East-West Shrine game. That's the one I played in, too.
Nice.
Shedeur and Cam is going to that one, too, if I'm not mistaken. Shout out to Shedeur for doing that, man. That game kind of is put on the back burner a little bit. Then the Senior Bowl comes in. It's like, hey, you want to come practice with us, too?
Yeah.
But it's a lot of guys that come out of the East-West Shrine game also.
You guys here as well, Shedeur Sanders, or Deion Sanders the other day talking about Nashville. He was asked how he'd feel about Nashville and Shedeur coming to Tennessee.
missed that.
He said, quote, I love it.
Yep.
Wow.
He said, the first thing he goes,
Okay.
he says is, first of all, no income tax. That's the first thing he said.
Of course.
He said, no income tax, great city, first overall pick, new stadium. He said, I love it. So
Okay.
that's for all of you who think that Shedeur Sanders would be not allowed to be a Titan by his dad. There is no truth to that.
I will say, too, if y'all have questions about Shedeur and Deion and Shiloh also, like, they got a lot of content out there.
Read 'em.
What I would tell you is, like, Deion is very much into his kid being, like, a mature individual, like despite like the antics that you might see them with, like it was a funny exchange between Shiloh and Shedeur, and he ended up calling his dad. Shedeur had on like this big puffy jacket, and it was a purse. It was a man purse, and he was like, "I'm calling dad," and it was just in a hilarious exchange of like fatherhood and like competition. He was like, "Shedeur, no." You ain't going out there with no purse, son. You got to put that down. I was like, well, you wore it. And he was like, nah, mine didn't look like that. Like it was a
level.
real cool exchange, man. So they're more than just
Oh, yeah.
entertainment. Like these dudes
For
are
sure.
football dudes, and I still don't think the Titans are going to pick them.
I know. I think if I'm leaning one way right now, I think they're taking Shedeur. But that's a pure guess. There's so much we still have left to do. Texans, Chiefs, who you got?
Texans, Chiefs?
Chiefs.
I got Chiefs. Yeah, easy.
To win and cover, or just win?
I said win and cover. I think I end up picking on the cover.
I don't think they'll cover, but I think they'll win.
Yeah.
I will also go Chiefs. I think Texans cover that one, if I had to guess. Commanders at Lions. I think Lions win, but Commanders cover. I think it's a field goal game.
Yeah, I think Lions get this one. They're going to get. I think they'll go to the Super Bowl this year. So yeah, I think it's going to be a close game though.
I got Lions. I actually got them covering on my Thursday 3. I did not pick the Kansas City game. Did not. But I think Kansas City beats them down.
Rams at Eagles.
I'm going to Eagles with this. I know the Rams have experience, and Matthew Stafford is hard to bet against. That defense looks better. I just say I think Saquon has been the piece that they've added that's going to help them in the playoffs this year. I think the Eagles.
I got Eagles, and I got a big A.J. Brown game.
Okay.
I think it's Eagles because the thing they do best neutralizes the thing that the Rams do best, and that's get after the quarterback. The Eagles' offensive line essentially neutralizes that front seven and Jared Verse and Byron Young and Braden Fisk and all those guys. So I think Philly pulls it out. I just don't think – I think they are the exact team that L.A. can't beat. Because I think L.A. is the profile of team that Philly is best against. Ravens at Bills. I couldn't tell you, man.
This is like a flip of the coin moment, I feel like.
I think the Bills get it done. I think the Ravens are better. I think the Bills and home field is the difference in this one. And I think Josh Allen and Buffalo are representing the AFC in the Super Bowl.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's my heart going with this one with Derrick Henry. I feel like there's a reason they added this man, to the roster, and it comes to shine most often with him in the playoffs. So I'll go Ravens.
I got Ravens. I actually think they beat them by a touchdown or so.
Okay.
I got Ravens. Plus, I need it for my Thursday 3.
That's true, too, because we're all knotted up.
Yeah.
You absolutely do. And then you guys aren't here Monday.
No.
So Ohio State, Notre Dame.
Ooh.
This is tougher than the.
Because you want Notre Dame, do you?
Is it tougher?
I want Notre Dame to win.
It's
So
Ohio
it's
State.
pulling on
America
that.
wants Notre Dame to win other than the state of Ohio.
Oh, yeah, Ohio State.
Ohio State,
Yep,
man. They're
Ohio
just
State.
too good. Like you said, if this might be the last put together super roster, they'll go out with the dub then.
You have to tune in Monday to me and Brad Hopkins to find out who I've got as well. MLK Day on Monday. I will be here with Brad to start off next week. Y'all enjoy your day off.
No doubt.
Thank you.
Very restful, good holiday for you. Enjoy the football this weekend. It is the last full slate of NFL games that you're going to get until preseason games in August. I had to let that one breathe for a minute. Remote Foster, send us home.
Man, y'all be safe this weekend, man. But please remember, your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.